Ulonkata bati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun ló fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ́jà.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Gbemi, and we got a new guest here today with us, joining us today, Tribe, man. We got a new addition to the family. I want everybody, show some love and give a shout out to Chief Ifaremi Olosun. Alafia, how you doing? Peace and blessings, yeah.
Alafia, I am grateful to be here. It's been a while since I've been on any live platform, so I give thanks, all in divine order.
Ashe. Oh, I give thanks to you, man, taking the time to join us and coming to drop some of this good Ashe, on the Ashe tribe and these Ashe streets. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time to do that with us today.
You're most welcome. I appreciate you and the work that you're doing.
Ashe, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to be done. So look, I'm going to do as much as I can, but we got a lot of work to do collectively. So yeah, I'm going to definitely do my best to play my part, man, for real. Okay, well, shoot, let's just get to it, man, because the people want to know. Before we get into the topic, well, we got a dope show lined up with guys in metaphysics. I wanted to be short and to the point with the title because I know where we're going to go. I know you know, but I want to kind of paint that picture for the tribe and for the listeners, but also to be able to like really tie in exactly what that means because in the brief conversations that we've had in regards to our journeys, in regards to metaphysics, especially metaphysics when it comes to connecting with the Orisha, I feel like we have a very similar ideology, philosophy, all these different words that we could use in regards to having a lot in common with our paths, but also with the way I feel like spirit and the universe has kind of guided and molded both of us. It's even for us to kind of be here having this conversation today. I feel like it's divine because we've had divine similar experiences from the past that neither one of us knew about. I didn't know about you. I don't know that you knew about me either, but talking in hindsight, but preparing for this first show, we had a lot of similarities in our spiritual journey. So it's kind of like, I'm looking forward to seeing your perspective and how it all kind of unfolded for you in regards to your journey. So with that, with you being a Oloye, with you being an Iya, with you being, someone who is not only in the priestly order, but in the chieftaincy order, or, the chief order as well. Can you kind of share with us how you had, or matter of fact, where did spirituality begin for you? I'll go right there.
Well, spirituality began for me, honestly, at birth, but it began to unfold as my level of awareness, through childhood development began to increase. And I tell this story all the time. I know people who follow me and watch me, I've said it 1,000 times, but I'm just going to go, into it briefly because this is oftentimes a story that many people in indigenous spirituality, whether they prefer the term African spirituality, a lot of us began. So I am born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, to a Pentecostal Christian family. My birth name is Tiara. And I mentioned that because, and in line with today's topic, Ifa, Yoruba cosmology, Ara means the body, be present in the body. And T gives off the sound frequency vibration of Ashe, Chi, Ki. So to be present in spirit in this physical body, walking this physical, or should I say human experience, if you will. I don't really like the word human, but so being born in Baltimore, Maryland, I'm being born into a Pentecostal family. I am the only one who ended up embracing an indigenous spiritual practice. It started when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I would go to church. My grandmother was the junior pastor of a small church here in Baltimore. My mother is one of 13 children. So I had a huge family on my maternal side. 13 aunts and uncles, 20 something first cousins, however many second cousins. We would always go to church as a part of it, kind of the family rituals, especially on Easter holidays and all of these things. And just whenever my mother would feel she needed upliftment. A really pivotal and transformative time for me is when I was 8 years old. And I really didn't even speak or talk until I was 8 years old. I was always quiet to the point where people thought something was wrong with me. And that's because I tend to observe more than I would talk. But when I finally started talking, like now, boy, did I have something to say. So when I went to church and the pastor was preaching, and he had wrapped it up like they usually tie things up with, I'll say, committing souls or collecting souls. And they would always say, those who want to come forth in prayer, come on down to the altar, come on down and proclaim that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and seek forgiveness. And once you ask Jesus to come into your heart and to forgive you, all of your sins will be washed away. So I sat down with my 8-year-old mind, and I mustered up enough courage in the middle of the service to say, Pastor, as he was going around with the anointing oil and ushering people up to the pulpit, I said, Pastor, so you mean to tell me something doesn't sound right to me? I said, so if I was bad all my life and I murdered everybody or raped people, all I have to do is say, forgive me, and I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and all of my bad things will just be wiped away? And so the pastor said, well, it's not that simple. And I said, well, that's what you just said. So my mother kind of pulled my arm back, like, girl, be quiet. And so I said, well, Ma, that's what he said. I don't understand. I said, so what about all the good people that live the life, where they're good, they do everything they're supposed to do, they get to go to heaven just with the person who lived their whole life as being bad? So the pastor, and this continued until I guess I was about 14, 15 years old. Every time I would go to church, I would challenge the pastor. So he started, his name, may he rest in peace, Pastor Bishop Yancey. He started to kind of dread seeing me coming because he knew I was going to come with all of these deep probing questions and challenging his word. And, when they don't have an answer, and a lot of times in Christianity, they just kind of resort to, because it just is, or this is the way of God. So that was my first introduction to uncovering who I truly was and emerging into who I am today. From there, which we talked a little bit about, Ifa, Orisha Gbemi. From there, I would go to my local public library, which was free, and I would read books on Kemetic science, different types of African spiritual systems. I even delved into the Muslim practices, asked one family member who was a Muslim different questions. I had one family member who was a Jehovah's Witness, and nothing really resonated with me besides Kemetic practices, what actually led me to Ifa. So that's the short version of how I came into Ifa cosmology.
Ashe. So what you're telling me is when you was in church, you was asking some legitimate, real questions, but you was asking questions that sound like the folks was taking it as you out of pocket. Don't be asking no daggone questions about the truth around here. What's your problem? Like, why don't come around these parts doing that? What are you doing? Oh
Exactly.
man.
I often refer to this as me and my sister. Shout out to my sister Latoya Robinson Goller, who also encouraged me to connect with you. I would joke around and describe this as a glitch in the matrix, because it's like everybody has succumbed to the social conditioning and to the indoctrination and all of the religious dogma. So when someone like myself, who was born to walk my own path, and to guide others to their purpose and to their power and to their destiny. When I come into a space, it's kind of like everybody looks around, and it still happens today in the church because it's meant to. It's not. The church is not meant to encourage free will. It's meant to incite conformity. So me speaking out was like, wait, wait, there's a glitch in the matrix. What's going on here? Why is she?
Yeah.
So, I kind of joke about that a lot.
But it's a real thing though, and look, because, I take pride in just keeping it a buck, keeping it funky, man. Unfortunately, it's in everything because it's definitely in Ifa and as well, in different types of ways, you know what I mean? In regards to, let's just say, I can't stress how many people I've dealt with who have left houses where it was being ruled with an iron fist. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything is going by or through, whoever the head of those elays or the head of those temples or, whatever you want to call it. And it's crazy because I've had even people on some of the streams and the lives like be shocked because we were referring books to them, different books, to read or study or kind of, to expand in the journey. And they're like, oh, my Baba would never allow me to read a book outside of what he tells us we can read. It's crazy to me, like how people want to use their position or their position, you know what I'm saying, to hold power over other people. Because as far as I know, our job is to help, to serve, to empower, to enlighten, to uplift, to heal, expand, all these different elements of what I know I personally strive to do when I'm working with people, whether it's in Ifa or just in general. But with that being said, I'm like, where are these people who operate on that frequency? Like, where are they getting that from? Because to me, I'm having questions now, like you had as a child in the church. Like, okay, I know with you making it to a certain level with your journey, there's repercussions and consequences for not living or acting in Iwakwele, you know what I'm saying, with balanced character or the laws of my, whatever you want to call it. But people are doing it. So it's like, I question that. Like, why would you still do that knowing that there's repercussions and ramifications that's going to have to be dealt with? You know what I'm saying? Eventually, in due time, it's going to happen. So it's something that's a real thing. But I think where I appreciate this conversation is, like I said, the similarities in the past, but also you have a totally different set of experiences than I've had. And I'm looking forward to kind of really diving into that, because one of the things that you didn't say, which I didn't expect, but I'm gonna say it because I like to brush other people's shoulders off and pop their collars. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna do it too much for myself, but I'm gonna do it for other people. But you are a powerful seer. And you told me about some different gifts and some different things that you've been able to do because of your gifts, being blessed from spirit. So the core of this conversation is, metaphysics, the guys, the Orishas, etc., Kemet, but we also want to talk about this new earth, right? So with you being someone who's a seer, someone who has the gift to see, someone who I feel like is blessed with the gift of being able to see and respond and also disseminate information or messages from spirit. What do you see where we are now? What is it, July 20th, 2025? What do you see as the framework or the prototype for this new earth that we're ushering in right now? Because clearly the old one is definitely withering away.
Yes, well, thank you for helping me to brush my shoulders off, and let me kind of rewind. Yes, I am also initiated into Ifa, Obatala, Oshun, Egbe. Prior to initiating into Ifa, I studied metaphysics, and I'm also a Reiki master teacher. Um, I would say when I was in the midst of my cry, because we do need to talk about that. That is an important part of the journey, Orisha Gbemi, especially in line with today's topic,
Yes.
is how we get to the place where we are in our spiritual elevation, because it all ties in together. Whenever someone is embracing the path of Ifa and I'm guiding them, I always instruct them that they tell them that they need to study sacred geometry, they need to study quantum physics, they need to study astrology, astronomy, numerology. They need to really understand who they are, why they are. They also need to study biology, anatomy, physiology, because all of those things are the Orisha. They need to study the earth and how the earth exists and functions, because the Orisha lives within us and within all things. So I really began with studying energy and metaphysics and Reiki. When I was in the midst of my journey, I was so fed up. I was so tired. I was so lost. I was so confused where I would literally lock myself in my room. And I have 6 children, by the way, but that's a whole nother story with my whole Oshun thing going on. But at that time, I had 3 who are older now who can attest to this story. I would lock myself in the room because I was so determined to get that answer, to find out why I was here and to make it all make sense, because I always wondered, what is this strange place and these strange people, and I don't fit in anywhere. So I would sit in my room and meditate. I would create a crystal grid around myself with a bowl of water, sometimes a white candle, just pieces of information that I was learning through being up all night studying and researching different topics. Mind you, I'm a girl from Baltimore, born into a Christian family. But I knew that I had something inside of me that was different. So I had to dig it out. I had to pour it out. I had to go within to access that part of me and to activate or reactivate that part of me. So in my meditation for sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 7 hours, sometimes 8 hours, sometimes I would lose track and my children would knock on the door, like, because I would bribe them. I would say, y'all don't disturb me for an hour and I'll give you a treat. But they would knock on the door and I'd be like, wait a minute, I'm still meditating. And they'll be like, well, it's been more than an hour. It's been 4 hours. Because in a meditative space, time is different. So you don't realize that you've been gone for so much time. But during those journeys, I was able to see so much. I was able to open doors and pathways and what I like to refer to as libraries. So it's like once you open these spaces within your mind and these portals within your mind, you can easily go back to those spaces to access those doorways again. So that's what I was doing through meditation. It got to the point where I even began to ascend from my body. So I was sitting in my room this particular time, and I felt my spirit raising up out of my physical body to the point where, and I realized it, I saw my spirit self was looking down at my physical self. And I'm at the ceiling in my bedroom looking down at myself in my meditative space. And I was kind of like, oh shit. Like, what did I just do?
Look,
So
you done mess
I'm like,
around and got
okay, well, let's
doggone
go ahead and
glitched the
take
matrix
it.
for real.
Yes. And so my spiritual team and my higher self and my spirit in the spirit state that I was in was like, okay, you want to go further? So I'm like, okay, I want to go higher. So then I ascended above my house and I'm looking down on, on at my neighborhood. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see my whole neighborhood. And then I went higher up. Now I'm in the midst of in the sky and I can see the whole aerial view. And then from there, I was greeted by what we refer to as an Ifa, my spirit group, or Egbe. And they said, they came to me as these celestial light beings. And they said, come on, let us show you around. So in my spirits, now I could no longer see my spirit self in a physical body form. I was just a celestial light. And so as a celestial light with my Egbe, I explored the skies and I saw that everything was energy. The trees was twinkling light. I could feel everything. We was communicating without words. Along with that, I would have dreams of white doves. I would have dreams of Obatella. I would have all of these different dreams of the Orisha trying to present themselves to me, showing me that this is the path for you. Leading me to this. This is why I always, and whenever I post, whenever I talk throughout all of my work, I always sign off, rise into your power.
I sure.
Because just to kind of go back to what you was talking about in the path currently in our tradition, how everybody is just kind of following everybody. It's become very cult-like, if you will. It's become very church-like, if you will. It's become more of do as you are told. And instead of what spirituality really is, which is personal
Freedom.
elevation and enlightenment and learning to connect with your higher self, your Orisha, Olodumare, Olorun, one-on-one first, because in doing this, you begin to understand the language and the language of how your ancestors, how your Orisha, how your higher self communicate with you uniquely. That's why it's called Orisha Da, is the original term for the word Orisha, which means one's own personal Orisha.
Mm.
Going deeper into that, and where I'm going with this is ultimately going to end up with highlighting that we are the Orisha. We
Mm.
are manifestations of Olodumare. The Orisha exists within us.
I see.
And I'm going to spin on back around to that point by saying this.
Do what you do.
So,
Shutting up, listening, and learning.
yes, so we have to, get back to that understanding and building that connection with our Orisha, with our spiritual team. Because when we do that, we can begin to uncode the messages that's being sent from to us from the realm of the invisible. So, for example, my Oshun may communicate with me a particular way. My ancestors may appear to me as a bluebird, or I know my ancestors are speaking to me as opposed to a unwelcoming or unfavorable energy. So this is how you can discern what's good for you, what's not good for you, who's communicating with you spiritually and who's not. So you're not answering to nefarious, or should I say dark forces. This is my ancestors communicating with me because I've developed a system for understanding them and they know how to communicate with me. We've developed this language. And the same with our Orisha. Now, spin it on back around, because you said a mouthful in your introduction. I always say that when we follow the whole religious mindset of externalizing that in which we venerate, those who believe that they are in power like that, as long as we are seeing the Orisha, as long as we are seeing Ifa or Rimila, as long as we are seeing our ancestors as something outside of us, we are then now taking the power and autonomy and agency away from ourselves. We are externalizing that power, which is then activating what people sometimes refer to as the worship gene. So that's why I say rise into your power, understanding that you are the Orisha. All that exists throughout nature, throughout the planet, exists within you. Going back, even if we take it back to elementary school, when we learned about the periodic table, that's the Orisha. That is the Irumole. Also understanding the difference between the Irumole and the Orisha. So the Irumole are a collective of celestial beings that materialized through us and through matter and through the planet as the Orisha when it takes the form of matter or it's filtered through matter. So that is us. So when we begin to externalize, again, we take our power away. So as long as we see the Orisha as deities, that's why I don't even sometimes like to refer to the Orisha as a deity. Or sometimes I don't like to subscribe too much as to these visuals of how they'll present Shango as a man that looks like this, or Oshun is a woman that looks like this. While the Orisha did incarnate into physical forms, which were basically people who were able to harness the power of the Orisha so strongly that they began to be praised, if you will, or that people began to pay homage to them as the Orisha because they were able to do what? Go within themselves through meditation through opening those gateways, through opening those portals, through understanding themselves and the world around them. They were able to know how to tap into the spirit energy of thunder, of fire, manipulate, I shouldn't say manipulate, work with water. Iron, which sits at the core of the earth. There's also some people theorize that there is this magnetic stone. Some people going to know what I'm talking about, but there is a magnetic stone made of pure iron that sits at the top of the planet, that actually draws everything in, that creates a toroidal flow and energy. That's Ogun to me. So once you begin to study all of these things, you are calling your power back. But again, once we are praising, we are worshiping, we are kneeling down, even when we lose ourselves, thinking that when we have to go to Nigeria, or when we go to a specific place, or when we adopt the whole idea that all of our ancestors came over here through enslavement. So that is also very limiting to our ability to tap into our power, because when we study, when we research, we know that that's just not true. And for me, let me say, everything that I say really comes through not books that I've read, although I've read books. And I always advise people, when you read, you want to take what you read and bring it back to self and make it make sense for you. A lot of people think because they done read a lot of books, they know a lot. Well, you may know a lot of information, but how do you apply it? Do you know how to apply it? Do you know how to use it? So a lot of what I'm speaking on today, and what I always speak on, comes from, like you mentioned earlier, me connecting to my power, dreams, visions, messages, hearing my spiritual team speak, hearing my ancestors speak, and being able to tap into the Akashic records. So with this, and allowing myself to dare to be different, you don't have to try to put ourselves in a box like you described earlier, and these elays. We don't have to try to revert back to our first or earliest or most convenient or most comfortable form of spirituality that was given to us through Christianity and all of these other religions in order to feel like we are doing something. Spirituality is knowing who you are and taking who you are. Once you go on the journey of self-discovery and building that relation again with your higher self and the most high source of organic creation, and tapping into your power. It has nothing to do with an elay. Even you'll get to the point where you won't even need your shrines when you do that, because shrines are basically conduits of energy. They're a way for us it's a way for spirit to work with us through a form of matter in which we can understand on our so-called level. Shrines also help us to ritualistically get in the habit of venerating what is supposed to really be our powers within. So that's important for us to know. But when we get into the whole elay thing and bringing Christianity into spirituality, again, we activating that worship gene. We think we got to all dress alike. We got to all dress like we are Yoruba. We got to all dress like we're from Africa. Well, how about communicating with your spiritual team and asking the oldest people in your family about where you come from? Because when we believe that we come from one particular place, we're cutting off, remember that portal, that gateway, those libraries of ancestors who may come from Mexico, what we call today Mexico, who may come from Haiti, who may come right here, who was born here, from the inception of the planet, they were here. So we cut off with our American Indian ancestors because they have some powerful rituals for us. They may have some powerful tools. Some of them could have been wealthy. They could have been, so-called rich. But
Cheap.
we believe that we can only access our culture, our spiritual gifts, and our identity by believing what we have been told, that we have to go across the waters, that we have to go to Nigeria, that we must be African, that we must be put in a box to validate who we are. We're so much more than that. Through my truth, what I've discovered is, and what I have seen through the Akashic records and being able to go back in time, is that we are the original people of the planet. So we were all over the planet before Christopher, whoever the who, was known or was heard of, before he even came about, before the colonizers came into existence themselves, which is more recent, within just the past, 8,000 years, who we call today white people just came about. So we got to go, what happened? So when people begin to rationalize and go within and to meditate, you think to yourself, who was here before they arrived? You mean this whole planet was barren? I mean, this whole country we call America today, nobody was here but the Asiatic Native Americans. So then when we go back and we think about our ancestors, what did grandmother say? What did great grandmother always say? That has nothing to do with Christianity. They would always say, there's nothing new under the sun. And then when we go deeper, we understand that currently we are living out a cycle that's now being broken. I was sharing with my sister friend that it's kind of like a broken record of the timelines. Where your broken record just keeps repeating itself again and again and again and again in a new time period. Today, now we're in the modern times, but it's the same thing that happened then that's happening now. Just like we travel the world now. I just took a trip not too long ago to Florida. Last year, I went to Belize. Before that, I've been to Nigeria. I've been to Ghana. I've been to Jamaica. I've been, all these different places. We did that before. There's nothing new under the sun.
Facts.
If we were doing that with the understanding, and accepting what our ancestors taught us, that there's nothing new under the sun, then we know that we are really a combination of a lot of things, we have a lot of different cousins and ancestors from all over the planet. When we let go of, like you said, that group think that a lot of Elays adopt, when we stop thinking that we got to dress like the Yoruba. And let me say this, all respect due, and I give thanks for the people of Nigeria and the Yoruba tribe for preserving Ifa and Orisha cosmology the way that they did, because it is a science. And the Orisha existed from the inception of time. They are the primordial energies of the universe, meaning they don't belong to any particular tribe. They don't belong to any particular race. So therefore, we can all tap into that power as organic beings to the planet, no matter where we come from. But the best way that we can do that is by honoring who we are. Most people are lost because we're taught that we have to always be the same, that we need to be the same. And this is one of the strategies that they use to divide and conquer. People always think about divide and conquer, that they divided us and conquered. But what they really did first was tell us that there's something wrong with being different, because you can't divide something unless you have already divided something, if that makes sense. So if there's no difference, what are you dividing? So they tell us that there's something wrong with being different. And they started this whole divide and conquer thing based on how they highlighted the need to be the same, and highlighted our differences, highlighted the need to be the same and suppressed our differences. So that's why a lot of people are lost. So, and for using myself for an example, while I have my own sense of style, I know and I embrace all of who I am. I have my paternal line on my mother's side. My grandfather was what they would call then, what they renamed American Indians to be called Cherokee. So he was Cherokee. I have ancestors from Congo, Cameroon. I have Mayan ancestors. I have ancestors from Asian ancestors. I have ancestors from IET. So I have worked, while Ifa is my foundation, I have worked with the Loa. I work with nature, performing nature rituals, and I adopt my mentality of the interconnectedness of all things, as my American Indians ancestors, as my American Indian ancestors did, in line with my grandfather. May he continue to rise in power. So sometimes I might wear some African clothes. Sometimes I might look like Tiara from Baltimore. Sometimes I may put some feathers, like I got this extra feather in my head to honor my American Indian ancestors. Sometimes I might put some fronts and golds in my mouth because I'm thankful for my hood background, because that took me all the places that I need to go and be unmesswittable through my spiritual journey to get the knowledge that I need. So we want to get back to embracing all of who we are. And we want to uncage and release our ancestors from all across the world. And we want to let go of the idea that we have to be the same and that we have to be in a box in order to be, because that is how they oppress us. That's how we become oppressed.
Oh yeah. No, that's facts. Man, listen. So shout out to the tribe, because you got some Be More family up in here. Shout out to Be More up in the building. We appreciate y'all and these Ashe Screech with us.
You
Man,
in the house? Southern City.
Yeah, look. Normally I have like a real, one or two quick fire, like quick shots in the quick rounds in the chamber I could shoot out, but you gave a dissertation right there, so I'm not even gonna do anything with that. Look, I'm just gonna keep on riding down the street, and I'm gonna come up with some new ones, because I'm not. We'll be here all night with that one follow up, but nope. So I'm gonna go ahead and just keep on shining. but you shared a lot, man, and real talk, like the people, the tribe, like they rocking with it because it's real, and there's so many different elements of that answer and response that it's just refreshing for me to hear it from someone else, because I feel literally, I mean, I'm stamping that with my, I co-sign, because I feel like that's one thing I've never conformed to, is letting people put me in a box or letting people try to label me as something, because nobody has the right to do that. If you're not the universal prime creator who created all that is, all that was, all that ever will be, you can't put anything on me, because that creator created me, and I'm going to do whatever that creator leads me to do, or spirit leads me, in my mission to serve that creator. So therefore, I'm not really too much entertained with whatever other people try to put on me as a label, or, you know what I'm saying? None of that, because that's not what it is. And who are you to judge anyone? You know what I'm saying? I don't judge nobody, because it's none of my business what other people do or say or wear, any of that. But we live in a world where a lot of people are very comfortable with doing that. And, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's something that has, unfortunately been very, very common, for people to do. But there's also people who ain't gonna have it. So at the same time, I don't want it. I don't want none of that bullshit. Leave that, keep that with whoever, you know what I'm saying?
When you think about it, when they take all of these things away from you, your unique identity, when the system, takes away all the things that makes you, what's
Fact.
left? A blank canvas for them to paint you how they want you to be. So again, that is how the oppression begins. That is how the control, begins. And that's the ultimate goal is, strip you of your culture, strip you of your history, strip you of your true identity. So now we get to tell you who you are, how you need to behave, how you should be, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's that's definitely a double-edged sword. And I love, like I said, I love, I don't do it often. I think you and maybe shout out to Baba Kepra Patah, who hopefully I'll be getting him back in here soon as well. But y'all are the only two people that I've ever had like a conversation with, like someone who was new, introduced to me or I met new, what I'm saying, before we had the show. Y'all two are the only two I've ever had a conversation with prior to us doing the show. Everybody else, it just, the first time they've been on, that's probably our first real conversation on the show. So it's like, because I had the opportunity to get a little bit of a sample of, you know what I mean, like where your journey has kind of, developed from and your process, it kind of gave me a lot of different ways I know I can ping questions, coming into this particular conversation, because what I love is the similarities and the love and respect for freedom and autonomy, whether it's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, whatever, because most of us aren't able to do that. Even people in Ifa, and I'm not knocking a bash in Ifa, I'm saying that there are some people who are still in a conformity mindset or mind state or whatever the case may be, who conform to what people say you have to do this way. You better do that. No, that's not how it goes. It's like, I'm going to do what Orumila leads me to do and teaches me to do and advises me to do, not what you try to make me do. You know what I'm saying? Because you are not Orumila. You can't do what Orumila does. No matter how powerful or seasoned or veteran or whatever. And I got the utmost love and respect for all my elders and, all that. And I'm just saying, this is a generalized assessment of what I've seen in real life from my own experiences and also a lot of the people who I deal with in regards to like consulting or healing, experiences. So it's a very, very murky pool that, we definitely we're in the process of cleaning up, what I'm saying, and putting some good spiritual chlorine in to get that stuff cleaned up, man, so we can get everybody able to swim without catching any heebie-jeebies or nothing like that. So let me ask you this, because this has been a hot topic. Well, not hot topic lately, but I remember when I first had, shout out to Big Chief, when I first started having some of the other brothers who were big with here, Turtle Island and the Moors and all that stuff. There was a lot of people who didn't get what I feel like you literally just gave a Sports Center highlight of, is how big the big picture is. I think some people were almost like damn near trying to make gang signs or, drawing signs like gangs, like the Bloods and Crips. No, forget Africa, forget da-da-da, it's America, this, da-da-da, you know what I'm saying? And vice versa. And it's like, nah, it's not that, because if you on that, I don't even feel like you even reaching a level of the frequency where it don't matter where you from anyway, because you still sitting there in the preschool, class talking about the dumb shit when we trying to build and create a whole damn nation and movement, and you sitting there talking about something to me that matters at all. It don't matter like one bit, like what you talking about. So for someone who I feel like has the same love and respect and reverence for the indigenous land that we live on here, but also, I don't know, the regards of how if you put one over the other or not, but to me, just listen to you, I feel like you love them both equally, hell, the whole planet for that matter. But what would you say to the people who have that limited, I feel like, mindset or that limited vision that they only can see it from one perspective? Like, what would you say to those people who have that like, narrow-minded mentality that they look at or look down upon other people from different parts of the continent? I mean, different parts of the globe.
I would say free them. I would tell them to free themselves, to allow themselves to expand their mind beyond what they've been told or what they believe to know. So the conscious mind and the superconscious mind works like this. The more we're willing to open ourselves up to even consider or explore other ideas, then again, our higher self, which we call in Yoruba cosmology, the Ipori, our higher self, can then give us more information, more knowings, more revelations, more knowledge. So they are basically closing themselves off to a plethora of information. I always like to give this analogy. Say, for example, your higher self, your ancestor, your spiritual team wants to let you know that a lion is about to attack you. But because you haven't opened that gateway or portal in your mind, because you have maintained a limited or narrow view, you may have been told that lions don't exist. But this lion is really about to, take a bite out of your, what. So your
And we
ancestors
ain't
are
talking
like,
about crime.
this lion about to tear the fur off of you. See it coming. But it's hard to tell somebody that a lion is coming where they don't even know what a lion looks like. And when they don't even believe a lion exists. So we have to first open those gateways in our mind through exploration, through adopting a childlike personality, and being curious. Allow yourself to be curious. If a person is afraid to explore or even wonder, even if they may have some already existing bias, it says a lot about a person who will allow what they've been told or pre-existing bias to keep them from even looking into it to see what it may mean for them. So I would say allow yourself to consider the possibilities of what may be, because you may be surprised at what you may find. And then once you are aware, the more information you pour into yourself, the more you read, the more you discover, the more you uncover, then your spiritual team, your higher self has more to work with to get information to you. So I hope that I'm making sense.
Oh yeah, no, I say
Like
nah.
they have more to pull from, and you have more to pull from, because you've expanded your mind beyond these bounds and beyond these really non-existent limitations. You mentioned before the new earth.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about that too, because it's still it's still in the line with expanding beyond these boundaries, what we've been taught, what we've been told, or even what else. Sometimes I challenge my own beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. But I feel like you have to though. I feel like we have to though, because to me that's part of growth, right? That's part of growth. And I'm gonna use a real example of how proud I am of growth. And this is real because this was real for my life, right? So for example, I used to like not be a fan of like homosexuality or people who was homosexual or things. To me, it was like it offended me to the point where I didn't like it, where I would be vocal about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but now that I've grown, I've been able to look at it like, what the hell does it matter? Ain't none of my goddamn business. Like, you know what I'm saying? You do what you do. Like
Yes.
that doesn't, like, it has nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? So I had to grow into like being able to like live my life, not allowing what anything anybody else does or have going on whatsoever have any impact on me. You know what I'm saying? And so now that I have the mentality that I have now, I'm like, damn, that was so stupid. Like, how the hell was I even, you know what I'm saying? Like, why did it matter to begin with? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if you're not, I'm big on love and respect. If you show me love and respect, I don't give a damn about none of that. I don't care what religion you are, what color you are. I don't care about none of that, because I move off of energy. If you giving me good energy and you showing me love and support, that's what it is. I'm gonna give you right back, because at the end of the day, none of that other stuff, it don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't gonna lie and say that I didn't have a totally different mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a totally different mindset. And I do feel like some of that can be us being products of our environment as well. You know what I'm saying? We've been impacted, influenced by people who might have a certain level of influence over us. So therefore, I'm not blaming nobody, but I am grateful for, like you said, challenging myself on certain beliefs, or challenging myself on even my own beliefs. Like, okay, so what can you say to solidify that? Or what can you say to give that credence or edify that? Or to, you know what I'm saying? Like, to really make that make sense, or to be able to come to a strong, like, really, you know what I'm saying, strong, I guess, confirmation that you're right or you're wrong, or whatever the case may be, right? So I respect that, man, because I feel like so many of us get caught up into it has to be our way or no way, or we can't even listen to other people's perspectives or their thoughts, ideologies, or philosophies, or whatever the case may be, to hear it out before we shoot it down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's a big thing that I really look forward to us being able to get past and move forward over, especially when it comes to where we are on the planet right now with the time and the things that are going on. So I totally, I love that and I respect it, because I don't feel like a lot of people will challenge themselves, or, you know what I'm saying, like call themselves out like that. But I take pride in doing that, because I feel like that's going to help me grow and also help me to communicate and connect with the people who I'm for as well, because I feel like there's nothing more relatable than authenticity. Like straight up to me, like every business program or mentorship program I've ever joined or signed up to, it was because whoever that person was that I signed up with, I felt like they was real. And you know what I'm saying? I can connect with that, because I'm like, that's, you know, that's what I don't want to be around nobody who faking, who phoning. Nah, I can't trust you. Like for real. So I got to rock with the people who keeping it a buck, you know?
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
As we're getting back to embracing who we truly are, our on this authenticity, and all of who we are. You mentioned before, I want to clarify that I do love everybody. And I'm not making it a versus.
Mm-hmm.
So us born here versus Africa, and we ain't African, and we ain't so the thing is, we're all one big family. And so we have to really get back to thinking more as tribes. So
Mm-hmm.
when we think as tribes and we begin to honor our authenticity that you just spoke about, and be real and be okay with being truly who we are, rather than thinking that there's something wrong with that, we can actually benefit off of
Yes.
our uniqueness like we used to do before.
Yes.
So before they came with renaming of lands and drawing these imaginary lines saying that this is Africa, this is Europe, this is Egypt, this is, we didn't come up with those names. We, as the organic people of the planet, we didn't wake up and say, hold up, let's divide this ish up. Something ain't right. You know, we were all tribes and we lived, and our differences were really solely based on the geographical location in which we dwelt. So you may have people of the, I don't, you know, just maybe people of the ocean, people of the highlands, people of the grasslands, people of the lowlands, people of these particular regions that develop tribes based on their unique differences. Maybe if where I live, where my tribe was, maybe if there were more, um, you know, cattle, maybe I would have been wearing more leather. Maybe if depending on the weather differences, maybe I would have dressed slightly different. Those were the only things that really divided us. So we really have to get back to tribal thinking. So when we come back to tribal thinking, we don't see it as a competition amongst each other anymore. We see where I can travel abroad, like I mentioned earlier, like we used to do. We see it as I can travel here because over here you have more grains. Here you have this type of metal. Here you have this type of gold. So let me go visit my cousin across the waters and get this and bring it on back home, and vice versa. So when we see ourselves, what I'm encouraging is that we honor our differences, honor our uniqueness, and see us go back to tribal thinking and go back to tribal order, which will in turn encourage self sufficiency, self reliance. We learn how to tend to the land, we learn how to um, uh, provide for ourselves. We get to define ourselves for ourselves. And instead of what really divides us is these fake names and fake lines that they've drawn to divide us as a people that never existed, that still don't exist, that they only put in place to divide us. So when people hear me say that I don't identify as African, or I don't identify as this, they think that I'm trying to make it a battle. But what I'm really doing is the opposite. I'm bringing us back together and highlighting and learning and encouraging that we honor and embrace our slight differences as a people, because we're just cousins of different tribes.
Yeah.
with it. Even now, you know, you can see that all throughout the world. What further made this made me more aware of this again is when I through traveling. So
Yeah.
when I went to, and I've had some very deep spiritual experiences. I have been in underground wombs, tunnels, and under the influence, or should I say, under the blessing of plant medicine, in the caves of Mexico. I have visited several different pyramids and performed my own private rituals there to tap into the energy of the Mayan, to the Olmec. So I say that to say, when I've gone to these places, I expected to see what I saw on TV. With Mexico, I thought I was going to see all of the lighter skinned Mexicans running around.
Yeah.
But what I saw was a lot of people that look like me.
Yeah.
When I went to Belize, I thought it was going to be a lot of the light-skinned people. What I saw was the Garifuna. And a lot of people that look like me. When I went to Ghana, when I went to Togo, when I go to Nigeria, when I went to Jamaica, wherever I go, all I see, you know, are variations of me and those in my family. We're all
Yeah.
cousins, but
Facts.
we have slight differences, and those differences are okay, because that's what's going to make us be able to survive and come together and thrive as organic people of the land. So I just want to point that out. I love and appreciate everybody.
I say,
And
oh,
I can't, so for me to discredit anybody in a particular region, that means in some sense I'm denying a part of myself, because I feel we are one. All organic people of the planet, we come from who? The same mother. We come from the same primordial womb.
Yep. We are one. Who is that? That Frankie Beverly? That
How,
saying that We Are One. Who sang
so,
We Are One? Tribe, help me out with that one. I can't remember who sang that. We
I
Are
think
One. That's facts.
Beverly.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna do a quick. I'm gonna take off on a quick exit because I'm gonna pull something up. Since we talking about cosmology, man. Look, I was hoping you didn't say nothing about Ghana because I was trying to save that for later. So listen, but because we both, you know, been blessed, and I mean, I'm truly grateful. We've both been truly blessed to visit the Oni's palace in Ile Ife, right? So this is where I got this picture. It was when I was getting the tour from the, you know, the brother that was giving us the tour, and I'll never forget when I saw him. Like, yo, that is dope. Like, I done shared it, I don't know how many times on the channel, but I wanted to pull this up, man, because when I saw it, it spoke to me. Like, it really spoke to me, to the point where, matter of fact, I'm gonna get this framed. I'm gonna get that like printed out, and I'm gonna frame that picture because it's powerful. And it goes to everything that we, you know, kind of led up to earlier, you know, coming into this point where we're at now in the show. But this is what we have receipts for. In Ile Ife, there's a lot of receipts to a lot of of our story that debunks his story. So therefore, I know you've probably seen this on your tour, but what does this say to you? Someone who has, I feel like, a deep who has a deep connection to Kemetic space, but also to Ifa, but just the spirit alone, especially with, I didn't even get to go back to, which I want to, is your experiences with meditations and the voices and the communications with spirit. So I'll go back to that. But what does this map mean to you, someone who has a deep tie to metaphysics and spirituality?
This map means to me, I'm so happy that you pulled this up, and I'm really happy to see it,
I say,
because I think I told you when I first reached out to you that you are really also the only Orisha that I've seen in a public platform really tie all of this in together and
I say,
honor and acknowledge the metaphysics and energetic aspect of the Orisha in, you know, in a very open-minded way. Like you
I
say, you
say.
don't limit yourself and you don't limit those who come onto your platform. So thank you for that. But as I mentioned earlier, the primordial energies of the universe. So I describe to my godchildren or clients, when, especially someone who's new to indigenous spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
when they want to understand how are the Orisha a part of all things?
Mm.
How are they the primordial energies of the universe? How
Mm.
did it work? I like to say that Olodumare is the light, and our Ori is a prism. It's like, imagine it's like a clear, crystal-like circular shape, but it's not completely circular. It has, different points and aspects of it. So when Olodumare, being the most high organic source of creation, being the light shining through this ball prism, what comes out are the different aspects of the Orisha. So it's different light frequency energies that materialize and partake or not partake or partook, but were essential to the creation of our universe, our physical bodies, and all living organic life as it exists. So along with what you have here, the Orisha can also be found in our chakras.
I sure.
Now there are different interpretations of this, but to me, as when you study it and you look into it, you may see people, describe it differently. But for me, Obatala is a part of the Ori, and the Ori is Ori, our head, our consciousness that's connected to our higher self. That is the pure light, pure, untampered, unchanged, manipulated light version of ourselves that is still connected to our higher self in heaven, that is connected to Olodumare. So Obatala also represents, of course, Jupiter, knowledge, wisdom, our Ori, our mind, pure light consciousness in its state. When we meditate, we go into a monk-like state, which is the energy of Obatala. Obatala is the energy and the innocence, too, of the light through which a babe child is born. I'll try to articulate this because I was able to also remote review my birth, and I know what birth looks like. And even the inception, as I carried my children, I saw what they look like in a spiritual form, and I saw the process of them coming into my womb and materializing into the physical. So this process happens, that light we see when we come into when we are born, and sometimes the light we see when some people describe when they go back. That to me is also Obatala. It's just pure light consciousness. And then when we get into our Obatala state, we're not reactive, we're responsive. We're calm, we're in our center. We just exist. We are able to just be. Just be. Obatala is just being. I am that I am. So then when we come to the third eye, I'm not going to go all the way through it for the sake of time, but the third eye to me is Orimila, the great oracle, the all-seeing, the all-knowing, the witness to creation, Ileri Ipin. So when we want to connect to our third eye, we do things like detoxify our pineal gland. We do things like consuming chlorophyll, chlorella, spirulina, taking colloidal silver, taking colloidal gold. We want to reactivate and decalcify our pineal gland. And then we can begin to remember and tap into life as it unfolded. We can see all of that through our third eye. That is why we consult Orumila and If, who is the voice of Ifa, who is described as the oracle. And then we go on to our heart chakra. To me, this is where I differ. Some people will say, the heart is Iyemoja,
I've heard Ogun.
Me, the heart is Ogun.
I've heard, yeah, that's what I got too. I've heard that.
because they always, when you got to go back, don't be ashamed of the things we used to say growing up and the things our ancestors used to say. When you get ready to get into a fight or you ready to go to war, what's the first thing you're going to say? You got heart? Bro got heart. Bro, so that's the warrior energy. And Ogun is still also love. Ogun is courage. When we go back to The Wizard of Oz, which is a metaphysical movie, and we go back to the what's his name, the Tin Man, who had to find his heart. He was made of tin. He was made of iron, and he had to have the courage and the willpower. Warm down to, like I said, the solar plexus. That's, to me, Oshun. Oshun and Shango sits there together because Oshun is the creative energy, and Shango is the passion, the willpower, the determination, that fire, and going down, Iye Moja, the womb, being, the sacral chakra, and the root chakra, again, Ogun, what people like to refer to as the warriors, connecting us to earth energy. So when you show me that, that's what I see. That is what I see in everything. The more you begin to explore this, you be looking at, for example, then I'm going to get off I'm going to bring this particular topic to a close, but I got to say this.
No, listen, man, we here. Listen, and real quick, I rescheduled the appointment I had, so we can go.
Oh, okay.
Because like I said, I know how this goes, and once I get into it, and we ain't been here like we supposed to anyway, so I got to run it up with the tribe. So let's get it. I'm ready. Let's go.
So I was driving down the street, and I saw this. It was a T road, T-way, should I say four-way intersection, what we call a T-junction. And there was this so-called homeless man. I say that because we never really know if they're homeless or not. But he was just, the way he was hopping around, and all of the antics he was doing right at that point and section where he was, and the way he looked, and with my spiritual eye, I said, "Daddy, look at SU. Just look at SU having a good old time. Let me go ahead and give an offering to SU." So or when I see cats, I know that is the Iani, IJ. If I see a lot of big bald eagles, I know that's Orunmila, some type of elevation that's about to take place. So, you begin to see the Orisha in all things.
Yes. That's dope. Shout out to I saw you. I wanted to hold you, Baba. I didn't want to skip past yours. I had to star you and hold you so I can actually say it. But shout out to Malo Baba Balogun Shango USA Baba Ogun Tolu for coming through, showing love tonight, man. He was the one who was a major force of me, having that opportunity to make it to the Oni's Palace. So he was there with me. And it was a phenomenal experience. So we actually got to meet the Oni, which was dope, man. So it's like my whole journey, that trip was crazy because it started out like freaking, what's that movie? What's the name of that movie? Final Destination. It started out crazy because everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I'm like, y'all got me effed up if you think you're going to slow me down from getting to the continent, nigga. Nah, I'm still going. I don't know what y'all trying to do. So, but when I got there, I knew it was going to be worth it. And what's even more amazing, which now Spirit downloading to me, I'm glad because I want to share this too. But what's even more amazing is when part of that happened, pretty much, long story short, got delayed with my trip to get there. But it gave me time to go back and reflect, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about accountability and being able to kind of check yourself. Or, for me, I take pride in like looking at things and trying to figure out the why. Like, why did this happen? What was I supposed to learn? And what am I going to do with, this experience, right? So on the trip over there, my flight, I ended up not making my original flight, and I had to wait like a day or two to get the next flight out. So I was reading this book that I'm pretty sure I got it by me. It's called The Architects of Existence, the Ajay and Yoruba Cosmology by Teresa M. Wash. I love this book, man. I ain't nowhere near finished it, but I love this book. Powerful book. So I was in my room waiting patiently until my next flight. But I was reading that book, and Spirit was communicating with me, but it was really the mothers and the Ajay that I felt really connected to. So in the process of that, I remember talking to my wife at the time. It was a call during the middle of the day. We was talking. I think she was walking the dog, and middle of the day, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. And I was just telling her about the book. I didn't even want to. I hate to say it, but hopefully I don't get my butt kicked. But I didn't even want to answer the phone because I was so tapped into the book. Like it just had me drawn in. Like I'm like, yo. So, but when we was talking, she was walking the dog, and an owl was out in the middle of the day. Now I hear him and see him sometimes, but this was in the middle of the day. I'm like, yo, that ain't confirmation right there. So I say that to say this. Last night, one of my new, I won't call it a hobby. I'll call it me time. Is like to have a cigar right on the patio and just chill and be in the elements of nature and looking at the star. I like stars. I'm big into the stars, so I'm looking at the stars and the constellations and all that. So while I'm out there, I remember something happened. I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a lightning flash, but something happened like in the sky. But then like not too long after that, within I'll say maybe a matter of seconds, a big bird flew right by. I'm talking about right in my line of sight, like barely went over the fence and like swooped up just in time to go over the house. And it came by so fast, but I knew it was, I didn't know if it was an eagle or an owl. Not an eagle, I'm sorry, a hawk or an owl. So I wanted to think it was an owl because they primarily move at night, but it wasn't super late at night. So I'm sure hawks probably be up, moving around too. But my question is to you, because you mentioned like a lot of different animals that have symbolisms or metaphorical connections to the deities. Who would you say is the owl? Like who would you who do owls represent in your mind?
Definitely, when you were reading the book about the Iyamiaje and you heard the sound of the owls. So I saw a video. Two experiences reinforces that for me. First of all, that generally speaking, birds in general are, a one way that the Iyamiaje Osaranga manifests through birds generally. But when I went to Portland, Jamaica, my spirit always takes me, whenever I travel, is for a specific reason. Either my energy needs to be there, or I'm going to get some downloads or have experience and visuals that I need to elevate and to ascend. So while there, I ended up being the Airbnb was created to be like a sanctuary by a native who became a doctor who lived abroad in the US, but he set it up where he had wind chimes all around. He did spiritual protections. I had no idea this would be the Airbnb where I would be staying. But he had the wind chimes all around. He had peep workers who were his family members told me that he had did spiritual protections all around. And I was on the edge of a cliff and I was just going into so many deep reflections. I was watching the waves retract and come up against the shoreline and contract. And I was thinking about the push and pull and frequencies and all this stuff where my mind usually goes to. And I kept looking up and I would see this owl. Like it was owls all around this cliff where this Airbnb was. And I could never really look an owl deep into its eyes. They kind of spook me out. But I was talking to the workers and I said, there's so many owls around here. And so one of the workers said, well, the owner has done a lot of things to spiritually protect this space. So the owls were watching. They were watching my moves. They were watching the moves of everybody who would come onto the land to protect it. So that reinforced it for me. And then I saw this funny video on social media where the so-called Mexicans, an owl had come into the church. If you search it on social media, you'll find it, where they had to sing the owl out of the church. So the owl came into the church. It was up inside of the top of the ceiling. And at the bottom, the caption read that owls are witches. So when they come into the space in a Mexican tradition, they will sing to the owl. And it was so funny because as they sung to the owl, this wasn't AI, this wasn't, scripted or anything. You could see this was real in real time. So the owl was dancing like this while they while they singing to the owl. And I said, oh my gosh, owls are so mystical, so powerful. Ooh, they hold so much power. Definitely Iami energy. I don't
Yeah.
play with owls. I don't play with owls.
Oh my goodness. Yo. Okay. Oh man, this is deep. So yeah, this is deep. All right. So I'm pretty confident it was an owl now. Matter of fact, I'm about to send you a picture. I seen one probably about what's this? This is the 20th. I seen one probably about less than 3 weeks ago. Leaving from a basketball game, right? Nighttime. Probably it wasn't late. I would say give or take, probably around this time. And I was in like Bradenton area, and I remember leaving from this. I think it was a high school, and leaving out of it, there was a fence that kind of was around this retention pond, right? And there was a big, beautiful owl. I'm talking about this joker was every bit of about like that tall, right? And so I'm gonna send you the picture of it so you can see it. But it was nuts because when I saw it, I already knew. I'm like, yo, I pulled over and I was like, I asked my son, hey man, record that, take some pictures. I need that, right? So I pulled over and stopped. It was facing forward as we were driving up to it. When we stopped, literally right to the side of it, like parallel to it, you know what they do? They turned around and took his head and was looking directly at us. Mind you, the body's still facing forward. Head did a complete 180 and was looking directly at. I'm gonna send you the picture so you can see it because I got receipts. But I was like, yo. So that happened like almost 3 weeks ago. Last night, it didn't click until what you were just sharing in your last response. But that's really powerful because last night that had been out, and then I just thought about it. I got a call from one of the big babas over in Nigeria, and he was telling me he gave me a message, from the Iami. So about the Iami. So I'm like, but mind you, it didn't click because earlier I was trying to get his power nap in. I was literally just going to sleep right before he called me. And so then when you had reached out, I was just trying to get myself to get the hell up so I can get ready, to do the show or whatever. But so I wasn't all the way focused and clear because I still was kind of in and out of, being tired and groggy. But man, that's powerful because yeah, he called me literally to tell me about something that had to deal with the Yami. So that's powerful.
Yep, that means it's time to appease the Iami. And we're keeping this this really goes deep. You know how deep this goes when we get into the metaphysics of what the Iami IJ represent. But also, like you were talking about different animals, if I see a dog in my dream, if they're shooting and guns and things like that in my dream or my vision, I know that's Ogun, So these are ways that our conscious mind has developed to communicate with us about the need to honor specific primordial energies that exist within us and throughout nature. So you get, again, the mind is going to pull from what it has.
Right.
So that's why the more you put in it, the more you expand your horizon, the more resources that your unconscious, superconscious mind can pull from to deliver you the messages that you need. And that is how we become manifestation of gods in the flesh, because we're able to walk and exist simultaneously in multiple realms and dimensions. When we're able to do this, when we can decode and receive messages from our Orisha, from our ancestors, from our higher selves, and sometimes even other versions of ourselves and different timelines, we are able to be, what is the term people always use? Spiritual people having a human experience. Going deeper into the metaphysics of Ifa, one of my clients always would ask, why, when we're doing OB divination, and that is the process of using kola nuts, which are sacred in the Ifa path to divine, or when we give an offering, why do we touch it to our head and then to our chest? This is symbolizing the balance that's needed between the Ori and the physical body, the physical carnal desires, wants, and needs, but also the alignment also between the heart and the mind. Because one thing, say if you are thinking to do something logically, your feelings and emotions may be guiding you to do something else. So it's important to understand in Orisha cosmology, it's all about polarity and duality and mastering the self. And through mastering the self, that is the ability to be a dimension walker. That is the managing, developing the ability
Whoa. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for interrupting, but I got there's certain things when people say, I'd be like, we gotta run that back, say it louder for the people in the back. That I like that. I'm gonna borrow that. I'm gonna steal that, but I'm gonna give you your creative, intellectual credit because I do. But that's dope. Can you kind of dimensional walker? I never heard. I like that. I like that.
So we are in
like
one being. We are our ancestors. We are a combination of a materialization of all of our Orisha. Elaborating on that more. While some of us may have prominent spirit energies that we are meant to embody in this life, in this form. Again, correlating Orisha to our chakras and our energy center and our etheric being, we have all chakras, right? But we may have been born to embody and reflect more of our, let's say, crown chakra, which is Obatella. That is what we must lead with and master the most to fulfill our destiny, purpose, and to serve others in the physical form. Or, in my case, Oshun, while I have initiated into other Orishas, and I possess all Orisha within my body, as all things possess all Orisha. I'm born to lead primarily to the public with Oshun because of the message that I'm born to share and convey, which is balance, peace, and harmony, and empowerment. So I'm able to get into spaces and share different messages and open the hearts and ears of people to hear and feel what I deliver that they may have not been willing to hear or feel if it were delivered by someone who's, not feminine and nice and attractive and appealing. You see what I'm saying? So our avatars support us in our purpose, as well as our Orisha. So again, we are our ancestors encoded in our DNA, living within us, not outside of us. We can tap into our ancestral experiences and the lives they live by the blood link connection that is embedded in our DNA. Then we are our Orisha. We are also our higher self that we're connected with. We are also other versions of ourselves that exist in other timelines. When we study more about metaphysics and quantum physics and all of these things, we learn that time is not linear. Nothing is linear. So, direction, systems, addition, subtraction, all of these things they have created is really to try to help people and for themselves to understand and conceptualize existence. But when you begin to astral travel, when you begin to meditate, when you begin to develop that relationship with your higher self, your Orishas, other versions of yourself, your Egbe, your ancestors, other forms of yourself, leading to the next thing that we are. In other realms, this may, I don't want to say go over top of some people's head.
Look, don't
But
worry about it.
even
Look, don't
in
worry about it.
other realms of existence, we are also that. So we have to begin to synchronize all of who we are in order to move and dwell and be in our highest form in this current realm, place, state of being. For example, in this, because it's all communing with us for our highest, greatest good, for us to fulfill and achieve what we're placed here, what we're born to do and fulfill and achieve. I like to say that we are all playing out, like I use this analogy a lot. We are all playing our own instrument in the grand symphony of life to create a harmonic sound that fosters elevation of the collective consciousness. Again, so we all have everybody emits its own frequency, its own sound. Every life, every soul, billions of us. But when we all vibrate through being able to commune with all versions of ourselves and stay balanced in our heart and in our mind and at our center, we are able to turn the volume up on our frequency and our sound to create a harmonic tune that has the power to transmute, transform, transcend, and alchemize our very reality. And so this is what some who want to maintain domination, power, and control don't want us to know. They don't want us to know that we are frequency. And by mastering our frequency as individuals, we have the power to change the whole frequency of our existence. So going back to who we are in other realms, the version of myself in other realities, we look different. We're not only human. We're not only so-called, I don't like that word, human or people. In some realities, in some dimensions, we would be the so-called extraterrestrials, or what people won't usually see to be extraterrestrials or aliens. So through my dreams, through my visions, I have seen myself in my past life. I've seen my past life. In the past life, I was a man. I've also seen myself as a so-called alien. In this life, I know that there's a version of me in some part of reality, knowing that we are multidimensional beings. Again, coming out of the unboxing, coming out of the putting ourselves, the limited thinking, we can really fully that's what we were born to do. We're born to know thyself, to study and master ourselves. And to do that is to elevate the frequency of the planet and serve our purpose of the highest, greatest good. So whenever I'm about to receive a blessing or something magical is happening, butterflies, fireflies, well, and of course bees, but butterflies and fireflies, even sometimes little magical lightning bugs will come right where it's obvious for me to see. Because again, the higher self and the I guess the conscious or the mind or the part of us that is spirit or aspect of source creator, it divides, it travels, it multiplies, it coexists in different realms and places and spaces simultaneously. But uniquely, again, when we synchronize them, we can be, and we open ourselves up, I can receive messages from my fairy self. Because I realize whenever I'm close to bodies of water, shout out to my brother, Comedic Yogi, when I traveled to Ghana and I merged into the largest river of Ghana, the Volta River, and I was appeasing Oshun.
I'm
All
sorry.
of
Are you
these
talking about
fireflies.
Baba? I don't mean to
Huh?
interrupt. You talking about Master Yasir? Comedic yoga?
His name is Comedic Yogi. I don't
Oh,
know what.
my apologies. I thought because my apologies. I didn't know if it was the elder that was he be on the show a lot too. My apologies. I was
Oh
just
no,
because
no, no, no. I don't think
I
it's
got you.
him.
I
He's
got you. I
more,
got you. I got
I mention him because I can usually when I was around him, I was strongly and in that space, he witnessed that very fairy-like energy.
you.
Um, and I will always refer to myself sometimes that is the black hippie part of
Mm,
me, where I
mm,
like to just flutter around, and sometimes I'll even do cosplay and embrace the inner child and embrace that version of me and put on my wings, put on my little fairy ears and my fairy makeup. And because that is a part of who we are, you know, we are able to, and I can receive messages from my fairy self. This is good. This is a good omen. This is a good sign. This is a blessing. Go ahead and make a move on that. But if I would have closed myself off to the thought, reality, or belief that I can be another version as a form of matter outside of the typical physical human being form of myself,
Gotcha.
I wouldn't be able to connect to that version of me that exists in another realm.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's deep. Wow. Listen, I knew this was going to be what it is. I told you, I was like, yeah, I already know. Like,
And
because
I
I
really
just know.
didn't even get to touch on I guess that'll be part 2.
Well,
But
listen,
the
how
new
much longer
earth
you got?
and getting more into the binary code of Ifa and the masculine and feminine and how that shows up, and the Odu, how that shows up with the Opon Ifa, and the markings when we see 1 mark, 2 mark, and Oshun and Parthenogenesis, and the whole metaphysical aspect of Ifa and the Orisha really goes deep, but it only can go as deep as we're willing to allow it to go.
That's fact.
And this is all that's going to really inform us for the new earth, how to reclaim our land, how to reclaim our riches, our wealth, our birthright, is by not adopting the worship gene. Is by not limiting ourselves and our thought processes and exploration and embracing the inner child. Is by getting into the science, because that's what these people have gotten into, that has learned how to usurp and use the conjure and the juju to take what is, they took our conjure, our juju, our magic, to take what is rightfully ours, and then told us to abandon it, to forget it. Yeah, you can practice it as long as you run back to Africa and think you a slave and think that you got to bow down and worship something outside of yourself, while we harness the real power and steal your birthright and take all your shit. So we got to get back into the science. When we give offerings to the Orisha to send away unfavorable things or to manifest blessings, ask questions like, why is this working? What is the alchemy? What alchemy is taking place? What is the alchemical process that's making, which I am a living testament and truth and proof that it works? It works. We can see it works because they've stolen all of it and been using it. So, but we got to reclaim it. We got to get back into the science. We got to dig deeper. We have to understand that while we go to Nigeria, we get initiated from the people who have preserved the knowledge. We give thanks to the Yoruba. We give thanks to all the Babalawus and Iyanifa who are helping us to go through the process of fortification and reclamation, because they kept that away from us here. So for me, I had to travel all the way across the world to get the fortification, to break those generational curses, to break those spells, to break those chains, to break those cuffs, through all of the different juju rituals that they put in our birth certificates, that they put in every contract that we sign, to everything that we watch, the food that we eat, the frequencies in the air, the chemtrails in the air, the everything, the cults that they have, all the stuff that they're doing behind the scenes to borrow, steal, and siphon and usurp what is ours. So with that being said, while we go over there, we have to understand that this is why we got to honor our differences. It doesn't mean we got to be in competition or fight. The interest that they have in Nigeria, Yoruba land, don't align with our interests. Their conflict, their fight, their battle, their lived experiences are not the same as ours. So that's why we must take the knowledge and information and evolve it to fit the needs of what we need here, rather than attempt to mimic how they dress, mimic how they sing, mimic how they infuse it into their culture, mimic how they talk, try to speak in Yoruba. You notice I have a Baltimorean accent. That ain't going nowhere. My 7 generations back, my maternal line, my grandmother's from Churraw, South Carolina, and I know every name of my maternal mother going 7, 8 generations back from Churraw, who were part of the Churraw tribe. So that's my accent. So when you go to Ghana and the Akan people, or when you go to Benin and Togo, they practice Fa. But they may be using a whole different language, but they make it their own. Are they wrong when they don't say it a particular way, exactly how the Yoruba are saying it? Go and tell those people that's practicing Fa or Afa that they don't have no power. Something wrong with them because they're not saying it like the Yoruba. So it's about the frequency, it's about the intention, it's about the sound vibration of what you're speaking, and the knowledge and the full understanding of what you're saying that ultimately empowers the metaphysical aspect, that makes it powerful, that makes it work. So we have to get back into the alchemical process, and we have to understand that we don't need to mimic, we don't need to adopt, we don't need to try to be something that we're not. We need to evolve it to meet the needs, to free ourselves and to free our people on this land. Everybody else has done it within their culture and within their countries, and to, serve their own interests. But a lot of us are still suffering from post-traumatic so-called slave syndrome, or as prisoners of war, oppression, suppression, systemic racism, and all the things that we have been through, where we are suffering from overall complex traumas that's preventing us to let go of these crutches. So we have to let go of all of these crutches. We have to let go of, I have to be this or I have to be that. Be yourself, trusting yourself, believe in yourself.
Yes.
Honor yourself and your ancestors, and be proud of where you were born. Going back to Ori and the metaphysics of Ifa, the Yoruba, and in the line of Ifa cosmology, we choose our destinies. We do the life review. I've saw myself do this as well through my astral travels. Before we come, we decide if we're coming. We decide where we're coming. We decide the experience we agree to have and need to have. And we decide where we're born. So of all the places on this planet, if you were meant to be born in Nigeria, you would have been born there. But it's a reason that you were born on this land that some call Turtle Island. That's because you're meant to vibrate. I'm not saying that you have to be bound by this land, but I'm saying there's a reason. You can still travel and have properties and land and live here. This whole land, all of this shit is ours. But understand that you have a duty, a responsibility, and a purpose and a reason that you were born here. So embrace who you are. Don't be ashamed of any part of who you are. That is true liberation. That is true freedom. That is how we alchemize. That's how we pull from all of who and what we are to be who we are born to be. So that's what I want to share. I know it was a lot, people, but it's just in me to get this out.
No. That's what we're here for, man. Like, I appreciate. I knew I be knowing what's gonna happen when guests that I do, because I know. Look, I know the tribe. I know the tribe. They know me, and then I just know, like, whenever I talk to somebody, all it takes, it could be a conversation that's 3 minutes, it could be 3 hours, but once I get a feel for their frequency and where they are and what, you know what I'm saying, who and what they are, oh man, because that just it's like a runway. Some runways are longer than others, but it don't matter. If I got enough space, we're gonna take flight. And well, I knew we were gonna take flight. And listen, that's what it is, man. And it's so much, like you said, it's so much more we were supposed to cover, but spirit is doing what spirit do, and it's divine. How much time do we have? I know it was a set time that we couldn't go past. How much longer we got?
I was saying by 10, so we got about another 20 or
minutes?
so minutes.
Okay, perfect. So I got plenty of time. I could run some things. But so man, oh man, I gotta pick my shots now because the time is limited. But there's so much that's left on my notes right here that I was supposed to get into, but then there was so much that's been said that I would love to get into. And clearly we're gonna be, hopefully, depending on how our schedule line, we'll definitely make this a regular thing because the tribe is loving it. I'm loving it. So yeah, we here like McDonald's, I'm loving it, even though we don't eat that. But but okay, so hopefully I can get back to the meditation and the communication with spirit and the deities and all the ancestors and all that. But one of the things that we didn't talk about this, but I would love to hear your perspective because you mentioned, it's so crazy how this happened, but you mentioned something that I literally just had a conversation last night with another Oloye about the significance of whether or not, if a prayer, well, the conversation about a lot, but this was one part of it. If a prayer is received or has more potency or power or ashe, if the prayer is said in Yoruba versus if the prayer is said in the whoever the practitioner's native tongue is, and then the ashe of the practitioner, right? So when it comes to this thing called prayer, and it comes to the original dialect of Yoruba, and when it comes to Ifa and the tradition or the ashe, which one do you think? And this is it. For me, I don't feel like it is a right or wrong answer, but I just want to hear perspective. Excuse me. Which one do you think takes precedence in regards to the delivery of the prayer? Do you think it's a person who has the ability to deliver the prayer in Yoruba would supersede like the person who can deliver it in their native tongue? It can be English. Like, does the ashe play a role in that? Does the tongue play a role in that, or does the verbiage play a role in that, like the dialect in which it was spoken? From your perspective, like, how do you feel about that?
So you have these great questions. That's a very heavy loaded, deep question. I can go really, really deep with it, but I'm going to try to touch on the depth by answering it more straightforward.
Ashe.
So, short version, it is the frequency. It is the frequency because the earth was created, life was created, the cells vibrate, spin, everything moves and lives and exists through frequency. Now, I also must give credit where credit is due because, again, the Yoruba, which I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but the Yoruba, the beautiful thing about the Yoruba language is that it is naturally able to capture the frequency because it is a tonal language. So it's spoken in do, re, mi. And so it's kind of when the Odu Ifa, when so-called prayers, I don't like to use the term prayers. I like to say when we're speaking things into existence or invocating something, and they're doing it in the Yoruba language, it's a tonal language. And again, we used to have our indigenous language here, those ancestors of ours who were American Indians. But that's why they stopped us from using the language. And our languages has always been about frequency, and it always have been tonal from the time that we're born as babies and we cry. It's about frequency and sound that gives it its power. But I must still acknowledge that it is a tonal language. The Yoruba language is a tonal language, and it's old and it's an ancient language. So the language in itself does hold much power. Now, however, at the same time, that doesn't take away from our power. That doesn't mean that if you don't speak Yoruba language, you still cannot emit a powerful frequency in your own way, in your own right. What ultimately also further enforces and strengthens the frequency is the person. So I don't care, because this is also when we're talking about prayers and invocation, we're talking about opening portals and gateways it goes through a hierarchical level from the physical realm, from the physical self, for this physical level to the ancestors' ears, to the Orisha's ears, to the spirit energies that lie in between, that govern our ability to even reach Olodumare's ears and Olorun's ears. So it doesn't matter if a person is speaking Yoruba tonal language, if they have bad, ugly character, if they are not good people, if they are doing things that's not right. They could sing the Yoruba invocations Odu Ifa from sun up to sundown in perfect intonation and pronunciation. But if their frequency isn't based and rooted in love and good character, it will never go past the Iyamiaje that we talked about earlier. It will never, because they are the regulators. That is dark force, what I like to refer to as dark feminine energy. That's the mamas that's going to, mamas can be sweet like Oshun, but Oshun also turns into the Iami, and she can call on the Iami to wreak havoc. So they are the mamas that's going to spank that butt. Yes. If it means before they allow things to go array and the balance of the cosmic order to, become unbalanced. They're not going to have that. So the prayers got to go through the Iami, got to go through Eshu, it got to go through, malevolent forces. As they say, the Irumale that sit on the left-hand side, if you will, because they have a role too. Because those malevolent forces represents part of our shadow selves, our unhealed selves, indicating that we ain't done the work. There are spirits, things that we haven't worked through. So they're going to put a big old barrier. You ain't reaching Olodumare. You're not going to be able to pyramid. And when I say reaching Olodumare, not seeing Olodumare as the all end all God, and not in a monotheistic view. I'm talking about being able to let your voice in human form out. You know how many, this world is huge, how many universes, how many realms, how many people are on this very planet, but we want our single voice to be heard. And most time when people speak things into existence, we're whispering in the night. We want our little voice amongst all of this noise to be heard, to manifest whatever it is that we're speaking. So, but the highest vibration and frequency is love, it's the heart. So I don't care, no matter what language a person is speaking, they must be balanced again in heart and mind, and they must be rooted and grounded in their heart chakra for the message, for the frequency to be able to go past all of that to manifest into reality. So that's my, believe it or not, short answer.
Nah, I rocks with it, man. Like it's real. It's dope too, because I've never heard it. I've never heard that perspective. Like I never heard it put that way, but it's powerful and it's dope. And anybody who's been a member of the channel or has listened to the channel, you know the reverence that we have for the mothers and the feminine energy. Like this is a big mama's house, like straight up. Always have been, always will be, because I'm a big mama's boy and I'm proud of it. From my physical mamas to my spiritual mamas to, you know what I'm saying, like cosmic mamas, all that, Mother Earth, all of it. Like, so, I am, though, unapologetically too, because I know what it is. I know what the feminine energy has done for me. Shit, without you will be no us. So, I mean, that's what it is. And I honor and reverence and respect it. So, but I've also seen the significance of the power of the mothers, from both perspectives, from the constructive and the building up of, and the destructive and getting shit right and fucking shit up, because too, you know what I'm saying? So I've seen it both ways, and I don't want none of that other side. I'm gonna stick on the building. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want none of that other side. Boy, that's real, because I know how powerful it is, and I know how it could really get you up out of here, and you know what I'm saying, make things like real quick, short order. And I don't want any of that. so with that, man, we got 14 minutes. This one wasn't on the topic, but because I love where the conversation has went, and I can't wait till we can pick up and pick up on the rest of the things we was going to get into tonight. But I wouldn't trade what we had or what we did and what was said for the world, because I felt like that was divine alignment anyways for everything that was shared. But when it comes to healing, right, I would love to hear your perspective on healing, because I feel like there's a lot of healing going on in a very positive way, and I also feel like there's a lot of healing that's needed in a very like yesterday, like by any means necessary, mandatory way. What would you, being that I know you're someone who's helped a lot of people heal from a lot of things, and you still work with people in that way. And I remember one of our conversations, you were telling me that a lot of your clients look at you as a mother, what I'm saying, as a mother figure or a spiritual mother, yeah, all that. So with you having that that gift, but then that presence, but then that resume, for people who are dealing with, whether it be, and I don't like labels or titles, but I'm just going to use it for the sake of conversation so we all know, but like depression, there's so many different things that's going on right now. But let's just say people who are hurt or in a place of stuck complacency, or just feel like, woe is me, like no matter what, nothing can change for me. Like, what I'm saying? Like, because there's a lot of people dealing with that, especially where we're at economically with the country or this company that we call a country, all that. So when it comes to healing, what would you leave us with in regards to people being able to heal thyself, right? Treat thyself, being able to tap into spirit, whether it's the ancestors, the deities, like whatever. What would you leave us with for us to be able to heal, starting with ourselves before we can get to someone like you or, other healers, etc.? What would you give us with that? Because I feel like that's something that's been on my spirit. And I see it, with a lot of people, that I work with, or just in general public. But what would you leave us? Because I feel like you have a very powerful ability to heal people. Just I could feel the energy. So what would you leave us with in terms of healing before we get out of here?
Yes, well, thank you for that. A lot of times people see me as I'm only 5'1", and I smile a lot, and I got the little bubbly personality, but trust and believe. Trust and believe. I definitely can go there, and there's so much spiritual depth to me. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging and boasting, but this is on the topic because it requires work. I literally went through hell, and I
Yes.
have died and have been reborn in this life many more times than I can remember. There's been so many versions of me. I have had to be willing to shed, release, and I know this word sounds very cliche and is used a lot, but surrender. So there were versions of me that in the beginning stages of my early development of my life, my throughout my childhood, I always knew I could see spirits, I could hear spirits. I would just always look at my body parts. I could see my aura. That was me naturally in my true form. As I got older, being born and raised in South Baltimore, I was brought up during a crack epidemic, drugs, killing, murder, drug lines, bags, needles all around, dead bodies, seeing all of that stuff. Family members who have experienced trauma, parents who have experienced trauma. And here I am in the midst of that, caught up in this whirlwind. Of course, we were faced with opposition. Um, try to stay who we are when we don't know how to stand our true, authentic, divine essence. We haven't figured out how to do that yet. We don't have the tools. Or conform because we tired of not fitting in and we're lost, or just be stuck and lost. So as I went through that process of, should I say, my first process of healing had to take place when I chose the latter, because I didn't have the tools. I tried to conform. I tried to rebel. I tried to call myself. I embraced my dark side of Oshun, trying to be the masculine female running the show, and rebelled. I began to rebel. I began to be the opposite of who, more and more and more, merging more and more into the opposite of who I was born to be. And then still spiritual though. So my spiritual team and my spiritual self kept sending signs. You're off track. Like tighten up, tighten up. You ain't got no business out here sitting on the end of the block drinking E&J and 40s with the so-called hood girls, you know you ain't got no business. But you know, that was my first experience of when I finally hit the brick wall, because I got to the point where shadows was following me because I was still spiritual. I would see dark figures walking behind me as I'm walking home at night, to and from clubs and partying or drinking and doing all of this stuff. There was still spirits all around me. And to the point where I thought I was losing my mind, because that's what happens when we get off the course of our destiny. We start creating our own, sometimes perpetual cycle of hell. So when I reached a point where I can't take this anymore, who am I? Why am I? Going back to earlier when I would lock myself in a room and meditate. I'm saying all of this to say, to let people know healing is a process and it's not easy, because that means you're saying despite every temptation, despite taking the easy way out and just taking a 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out, sleeping with my demons, holding on to my shadows, sweeping it under the rug, doing like everybody else, I am going to put forth the initiative to be different. I am going to be better. I am going to choose to be in alignment with my divinity and walk and live and be in my highest, greatest God form in this physical form. When nobody, it's very rare that you will see people that's doing that. So it takes work. It takes dedication. It takes no longer externalizing. Again, it's about you. It's not for applaud. It's not for validation. It's not for acceptance. It's about, and also being able to be that clean slate, dying. See, most people see Oyeku Meiji, going back to the metaphysics, as death. Oyeku Meiji is not death. It is actually the return to that darkness, that void. It can feel like that for some people, but it is the return to the void, that triple black, that the primordial womb we talked about earlier, that feminine energy, womb space that we come from, that non-ether energy that all life is birthed out of, the feminine. That is the process of death, because it was like you're going all the way back. You got to go back within the womb and retreat, and then emerge again into the light of Oshumare, into the light of existence. So, and sometimes we got to go through that process again and again and again, as a part of our ascension in this life. So you have to be dedicated to that. It's not a one time, one thing fix all. It is agreeing to honor your purpose, your reason for being, and being dedicated to being an embodiment of love and the highest version of you, even when people piss you off, even when it's easy to go into the dark side, even when nobody is looking, even when nobody is watching, even when you've been hurt, even when you've been betrayed, even when you have been lied on, even while somebody's trying to manipulate you. It's still choosing to be in your highest state of being again and again and again. And sometimes when we diverge to the left or diverge to the left or to the right, it's knowing the tools and the work to be able to come back to your center. Healing is an ongoing life journey. And it's beautiful. While it sounds challenging, the beauty in that is that's why we're here. That's what we're here for. Some people just want to think that they have the ability to choose. They say, no, I ain't going to heal today. I'm just going to choose to chill and watch this football game. F it. But what we're not, we don't have the choice to choose. The only choice we have is to align or to not align. And to not align with our purpose, destiny, and highest vibrational frequency means to revert back into that primordial womb, into nothingness, into a space of void and nothingness. So it's either live, be, and align, or revert back into nothingness. We're not choosing. So people are living out their hell. So there is reward in healing. There's reward in staying dedicated. There's reward in the surrender. Another point is healing is not, again, it's not linear. It's not, let me do this herogation, as people call it. Let me go do some ori work. Let me wash my head with some coconut water and tie my head in white, and I've taken care of my ori. No, healing is mind, body, and spirit, first of all, because your mind has to be your pineal gland has to be decalcified. Your mind has to be open. Your mind has to be prepped and prepared. Your mind has to be balanced. Your mind, you have to engage in self-reflection, introspection. It's the inner work. I always say there can be no spiritual work without inner work, because it's just like trying to help somebody who is closed off to receiving it. They haven't done anything to increase their awareness at all. So no matter how much ebo you do, no matter how much rituals you do, no matter how many candles you light, no matter how much you pray, no matter what, if your mind is not open to receiving the blessings, the work, the alchemy, the transmutation and the transformation and all of those things that's supposed to take place through the ritual and spiritual work, it's going to like fall into deaf ears. Like the same way you're trying to tell a girlfriend to leave an abusive relationship, but she has no idea that she's in one.
Oh my God, that's a powerful analogy. Oh my
So
God. I'm sorry for interrupting, but that's powerful. Like that because that's exactly. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's powerful.
So, but people out there, I'm telling you, there's so many people out there who think because they have titles, because they know how to sacrifice a chicken, that because they know how to appease, because if that's, I will say, you have to work on your ori. The first thing they'll say is, oh, we do Ibori all the time. We do herogations, cleansings, and stuff. I'm like, no. You got to go within first, or could do it together. You don't think just because you do that is enough. The physical body also is the avatar that encompasses the spirit. So if you treat your body like a dumpster, if you don't open up your chakras through movement, through yoga, if you don't perform somatic movement, as a woman, moving your hips, your waist, your womb, your shoulders, if you're not doing somatic movements, again, you could be limiting the ability for the frequencies that are the Orisha, your chakras, to flow, for energy to flow, for the universe to communicate with you. There could be blockages in your heart, blockages in your womb, blockages. Is more than just the spiritual aspect. And we must take care of our physical body. I know it's challenging. I go back and forth too. But as long as we try our best, at least, our higher self knows we're trying our best to do what's right for our body. That doesn't mean, again, following. Don't be a follower. That doesn't mean everybody's supposed to go be vegan and go be plant-based. You only know what's best for you if you study you, because everybody's body needs something different. It depends on what Orisha you have with your ancestral lineage, when you know all of your ancestral lineage. It depends on your genetic composition. It depends on so many things to know what you need to put inside your body. And then, the spirit. Then we start to work on the spiritual aspect of things. Meditation, reflection, making sure your heart is light as a feather, forgiveness. If we look around the world today, that's why certain entities and low vibrational beings that know they cannot exist without doing the things that they do, such as trying to keep us in our lower self and in low vibrational state of being, through harboring all of these unfavorable emotions, energies, frequencies in our mind, body, and spirit. So at every turn, we must make a vow to ourselves not to reduce ourselves, so that we can, again, fully continue to embrace healing and to ascend and to evolve and to grow, because healing is about growth. It's not about one and done. It's about being willing to go on and stay dedicated to your growth journey. Wait, one last point. People always they get discouraged. This work, being a chosen one, being who you were born to be, all that's why they put all this stuff in place to try to mess with it, to stop us at every turn. People get disappointed when they say, well, I've done this and I've done that, but I still feel sad, or I still got hurt, or I still lost my job, or I still healing or becoming an Orisha or initiation or none of this stuff doesn't mean that you still will not experience life, because that is what you were put here to do. What it does is give you the tools to not be totally knocked down where you can't get back up. It gives you the knowledge of self where you can't be easily manipulated, where you can't be easily brought into and knocked down and becoming a part of the malevolence that exists. Because I know who I am. I know why I was born. I've been meditated. I done seen other versions of myself. I done done the research. I done dug deeper. I know my ancestor. I know what's in my blood. You ain't about to convince me of some other stuff. You ain't about to make me into something I'm not. So that's what healing is about. It's about having those tools. It's about having self-identity. It's about when you are sick, you don't have to necessarily run to the doctor. You don't have to be, should I say, vulnerable or totally at the mercy of someone. You know how to, because you've done the healing work. You don't know it sometimes until you go through it. You've done it before. You've trusted, you've surrendered, you've honored all these different aspects of yourself. So you're going to know a little bit about what herbs to take. You're going to know about what your body needs. You're going to know what how to pull out your singing bowl, what bell to ring, what metal aligns most with your spirit energy. Is it silver? Is it gold? Is it platinum? You're going to know what you need to do to get yourself to come back into your center. So that's the benefits of healing. But most people are focusing on superficial, temporary, short-lived, carnal satisfaction. They've been indoctrinated to think that comfort and convenience is I'm winning. Oh, I won. I got a mortgage, I got a house, I got a car, I got a baddie. So I'm doing good. But that is not the true reward that we should be seeking in our lifetime. We're here to, again, play our tune, to play our song, to turn the volume up on it, and to elevate our consciousness through all of what I've just mentioned. True healing, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and embracing the continual journey of that.
My Lord.
And it won't always be easy. It ain't meant to be. Anything that don't challenge you ain't going to elevate you. Learn to embrace the challenge. That's where you win, because you get to say, I did that. Look at that. That came at me. I overcame that. I knew how to do, that's when then you feel like, yes, I am a god. I am a goddess. That's the reward.
Man, listen. Oh my God. I know it's past the time. I don't know if I wanted one more, but I'll wait because I know we passed the time. But man, that was dope, because when you said, like, all I could hear was that Outkast song. I can't remember the name. I was about to look it up, but it was off of Aquemini and Dre 3000, like Oski Woski. My God, man, listen, my God. I always said my God or my Lord, but that's why I said my Lord, because I just hear 3 stacks in my, like, he yelling in my ear, like, my God. Well, I'm like,
you see, that's the frequency. That's
yes,
the frequency again.
Oh man. Yes, sir. Yeah, I wanted to it's okay. I wanted to ask a few more, but we passed time. But I tell you what, shout out to the tribe for dropping all the comments, man. They was going ham in the comments tonight. So I definitely appreciate all y'all for showing up and showing out as you always do, man. I'm gonna definitely be back this week. I'm trying to line up a few more shows to lock in, but I got a lot more work to do with uploading shows too. But Appreciate you, Marlene, for joining the tribe. Welcome to the tribe. But Oloye, I want to give thanks, man. It wasn't nothing short of what I expected to be, honestly. Like, I knew this was what it was going to be. But I'm grateful. And man, there's so many more questions that I have that I can't wait to share on the next one. But shout out to, I think it was Chloe Dior, Brother Yusuf Muhammad, and it was to me Erinola being. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but I screenshotted y'all's questions because I personally want to hear those answers to those questions. So I screenshotted them. I'm gonna send them to EI. And man, listen, in divine time, when we do this again, I'll definitely make sure that we bring your questions to the floor in the forefront because we didn't get to them tonight. But with that, EI, I definitely appreciate you, man. I'm looking forward to making it happen again, hopefully as often as we can, because like I said, I knew this was going to be something special, and it was what it was, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
And like always, Spirit got me good because I got the message, I got the confirmation, I got the download that I needed to. And now you know how we linked up through sister who kept saying, I'm telling you, you need to reach out to him. He's the only brother that's talking about this type of stuff. And you talk about this type of stuff. And then from there is a specific message. I'm going to touch on it a little bit because I got to get this out, but we got to get into this for the next video. But this is how Spirit be setting me up all the time. I'm thinking it's just going to be be obedient, do this thing. But then the next thing you know, I'm doing more and more and more and other stuff, but I give thanks. That's what I'm here for. But I really, really got to get into the metaphysics of Ifa as it relates to the Odu, divine masculine, divine feminine energy, and the role of the divine feminine in the new earth. Yes. Because I shared that with you. That's on me real heavy.
Yeah.
And it's going to mean without going deep, because we're going to say that for the next one, but it's going to require for us to get clear about what has happened to make this a patriarchal, unaligned planet, to get real clear, not making it a battle of the sexes either. Because when I watch podcasts, it's been a lot of the battle of the sex stuff.
Yes.
And that's not what this is. That's not going to help us usher into the new earth. Everything is about balance and appreciating one another. And so understanding, we as women being walking portals, we are walking portals. We are walking portals and gateways because we have womb. We are the bridge between the realm of the invisible and the physical realm, the carnal realm. We represent what I was talking about, that 9 ether, feminine, triple black dot void, through which things can come and things can go, through which we have the power to change and transform. And that is initiation. That is what most people don't know. But when we go through initiation, what they're really doing is they are reenacting the birthing process. So, and they've changed how it's done now. Before, I was blindfolded. So you're supposed to be blindfolded or completely in darkness, because that's where everything emerged. And then you go through the process of spirit, the washing, which is representing the waters that's in the womb that we come through. And then you go through the naming, and it's a rebirthing process. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because once we know the power we possess as women, especially, and when we know what the Odu is, which the Odu is really the womb space. That's what the Opon Ifa is. That's what the Odu is. Again, going back to those markings, the single mark, the one line is masculine. The 2 lines is representing feminine. Then when we go back to genetics, then we know that all babies are born as women first. All babies are female. Then they become male. We go back to Oshun, Osei Torah. We talk about the creation story. When we go back to the true Jesus Isis, When we go back, dig deep, 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 we understand that all life began through and because of the woman. And this is not to denote the man. This is not to reduce the man, because we created the man for a reason. We need to love our men. We need to nurture our men. As women, I don't care if you are married, your husband is supposed to be, you're still a mother to your husband. We are mothers as women, period. We are born. I don't care what your sexuality is. I don't care if you like women. I don't care what you like. As long as you have a womb, you are walking portals, materializations, and the physical form as matter, as feminine energy. Therefore, we are meant to preserve, we are meant to nurture, and we are meant to support. And so with knowing all of these things, we nurture our men, we uplift our men, we support our men. That's like the same you would do for your son, you do for your husband. We don't bash them. We don't yell at them. We don't treat them like trash. We don't reduce them, because we need them and we created for them for a reason. And it's about balance. We knew that we needed that balance. So when we have the next show, I'm gonna get deeper into Osei Torah and Odu Ifa that support all of what I'm saying. And why a woman came first and then knew that she needed to create man, instead of the opposite that we've been taught, when the patriarchal system knew what they had to do, which was to flip everything around. You got to flip everything around. And now, while we keep focusing on patriarchal systems and we keep focusing on the men, and a lot of women want to down the men or see the men as just tools, or that they just need to provide, and reducing the man. A lot of times we talk about Inky and Leo, and we talk about the presidents, and we talk about male leaders, and we talk about men. I know this gonna make some women mad, but I'm a woman, but I gotta tell the truth. When the home is not in order, I say this analogy too a lot. When the home is not in order, you walk into a person's house. If you go to your girlfriend's house, the house dirty, the children cussing the mama out, the children ain't been washed, they ain't been fed. Within our culture, the first thing we're going to say is, where these children mama at? We not going to say where the father. We might say that after. They're going to say, who their mama? That's because we as women are responsible for taking care of the planet, taking care of our community, our home, and on a macro level, on a micro level. We're supposed to be planting, making sure that the ground is fertile, as within, so without, as above, so below. We make sure the ground is fertile. We're growing our own food. Our men can benefit from our intuition, again, because we're walking portals. But if we haven't done what we need to do to work on our energy and our power and our intuition and our ability to be dimensional walkers, we can effectively guide our men to say, don't go down that street. I had a dream last night. You go down that street. I know you're in the midst of warfare. Or if your man in warfare, if our men need to go to war, as women, we supposed to use our divine intuition to say, no, babe, don't do it. And the man knowing who he is, because it's on both sides. The man knowing his role, again, going back to the beginning, embracing our differences rather than being threatened by them. As a woman, I have these abilities naturally, inherently, biologically, spiritually, genetically. I didn't make it up. I'm just telling you what is. And men have certain capabilities. And so when we honor our differences, instead of making it a battle of the sexes or one below the other, and the man shouldn't be, jealous or feel threatened by our gifts as women, because they're going to serve you. So all of this to say, in the new earth, women, we have to take accountability. Everything began with us. We're saying men are doing this and men are doing that, and these leaders are doing this and the leaders are doing that. Everything comes through the primordial womb. We possess the gateway and the opening and the power. Whatever power they have, they got it from the mother, a sister, an auntie, or somewhere that then told them how to do it. Now I'm talking about on a macro level, and I'm talking about the so-called leaders and cult groups that's doing all of this stuff against us as a people. They got it from a female.
Oh my God.
Because the woman is born first. The woman came first. And even if you don't believe that theory, the first contact a life form has is with the mother from the time that is in the womb. And then when the baby comes out, the mother is feeding it. The mother is going to be primarily teaching the individual what to do. And because we have direct access when we tap in to the Iami dark force energy, once these forces figured out that they don't have power, they don't have any true power. I need y'all to read between the lines here of all who I'm talking about. These people don't have no power. Only thing they've learned how to do, which a lot of people in the Orisha community are doing now, they think that they can manipulate energy through Abo to cover up their shit. And so once you understand everything is frequency, vibration, and energy, the people that think they are in power of this land have figured out how to manipulate energy. And they know that the energy they need to manipulate is feminine energy, because feminine energy is the glue, is the bridge, is the portal, is the gateway. So by reversing the process that I mentioned earlier, by performing a ritual that reenacts a thing, they can make a thing and come into reality. Some people gonna know what I'm saying. Also, by feminine energy, the earth itself is a water planet, and the layers in between, other dimensions above and below the earth, is water. Even the planet itself is primarily feminine, right? This not taken away from the men or the brothers. We love y'all, we need y'all, but I'm trying to get the women to understand the power that we possess. We are able to directly connect to the earth, call up the power from the soil of the earth, as well as the waters of the earth that carries frequency, energy, messages, and power, because we are direct connections, materializations, manifestations in the physical form of these things. And we are able to bridge and carry things over through the womb, the realm of the invisible. So these people have figured out how to manipulate feminine energy to make us into something we're not. Because when we become something we're not, we emit a different energy that is masculine, that it wreaks havoc, that destroys, that is subjugated, that is reduced. So that's why you see all of these love and hip hop reality shows showing women fighting each other, showing women being nasty. That's why they're perpetuating this all throughout pop culture, through the music, through TV, through the food, through the systems they put in place to make the woman feel like she don't need a man, or to make the woman mad at the man, because they making a man look like they can't perform and show up. So all of this evokes that Lilith energy. All of this evokes that dark feminine energy, that chaotic energy, that wrathful energy, that shifting, like I mentioned earlier, the natural frequency of the whole planet that's making these patriarchal systems be able to continue to exist.
Can I I'm so sorry. I've been sitting on my hands for like 5 minutes. I wanted to say something so bad, but every time I want to try to energy, you say something else. I'm like, nope, not. But only because of where you went, and this was not rehearsed. It wasn't scripted. Like, this just is organic. It is real. Like, this is live, right? But what you're saying, man, I had like 2 conversations today, but you caught me at the part where, and I'm gonna do something I'll never do, but I'm gonna do it because I want, for the sake of authenticity. But you caught me at the part when you said, just because you got a crib, you got a nice car, you got this, you got that, you got you a baddie, that don't mean that's it. I want to jump in right there because you said something, but I was being patient because you said so much more after that, right? But I wanted to say something, and then I wanted to say something else, and then just turn it loose, and you do whatever you want to do the rest of the show. When you said that, I was one of those guys where I was in my late 20s, and I would say maybe late 20s going to my early 30s, where I felt really, really proud of where I was as a man because I had got my first crib, which was a nice size crib. I had two of my dream cars that I really wanted all my life. And humbly speaking, I had, I was okay. I was a single man, so I was okay when it comes to, I ain't even gonna call them baddies, to the women who I was blessed to, enjoy my time with. So I had what most would consider it all, right? In my eyes, at least as a 20-something-year-old dude. But that wasn't it for me, and I knew it. But I stayed true to who I was because I wasn't going to commit to a relationship if I wasn't ready. And I'm not going to lie and fake with nobody. I'm going to be real with you. So now that's in my early 30s, late 20s. Fast forward, 45 now. I'm in a different phase, a whole different lane, a whole nother experience of my life. And we've talked about feminine energy on the show multiple times before you, and shout out to Yemaya Faye, and shout out to Wunam came through. 3 powerhouses, all 3, undeniably. You and Yemaya Faye came through a connect that referred y'all, you know what I'm saying, to make this happen. I'm saying all this because there's a lot of times I'm in conversations where I have to go to bat for the good guys because there are still some men out here who are good men. And I don't take kind to people talking down on those men because I know that there are good men. Yes, there's a lot of us that are dirtbags, scumbags, piece of shit, whatever you want to call it. Some people just ain't doing it right. Right. That's in all, I get it. But there's some people who are. So I say all that to say that there's some people who have a misconstruction of that all men are this or that. But when it comes to you, when it comes to Yemaya Faye, who I met through other females, I'm going to ask openly, did I come at you in a way where, because you and I had this conversation now, because I'm going to keep it all the way about how some people move. But I feel like there are some men who don't try to holler at or get at or, whisper sweet nothings in a woman's ear just because. And I want to give a shout out and a salute to those brothers who are doing it the right way, who respect the woman, the queen, who they are, for who and what they are, and is not trying to get in everybody's, sliding in the yonis. You feel me? So it's like, can you just because you said a whole lot, but I want to give a shout out to those guys who I feel like you was talking about. Can you let us know the significance of when you put those kind of guys with the women who have the perspective and who see the world through the lens you see them? Because to me, I feel like that's what the hell the new earth going to look. I don't know, but what does that look like? I promise I ain't got nothing else.
Well, that's going to look like the Garden of Eden in simple terms. That's going to look like, again, it's not going to look like the battle of the sexes. It's not going to look like a tug of war. It's not going to look like discourse and conflict, because when I fully embrace and know, acknowledge, and accept who I am as a woman, then I can just simply show up as such. All of these, I was saying this to my sister too, all of this stuff we see in the podcast with all of these different phrases and strategies and techniques, and talk to the man like this, talk to a woman like that. You can't message back. You can't text back. You can't do that. All of that's going to go out of the window, because all that is rhetoric and noise. When a woman that you mentioned knows who she is, or is invested in learning and evolving more and more into her greatest higher self, she's just going to show up. This has been a conversation too about transactional love versus love is transactional, love is not transactional. Pure love is not transactional. A mother doesn't give, we need to get back to pure love. Pure love. A mother doesn't give birth to a baby and say, if you don't do, I'ma feed you. That's not. So we have reduced ourselves to being willing to accept transactional love. So when it's transactional, that's when the conflict comes in. Because I done did this for you. You have these expectations now. You supposed to do this for me. Then you bump heads. But when the woman shows up in her divinity as a woman, then she connects with a man who's done his healing work, who knows who he is, who has, what we talked about early, worked on healing him, who is healing himself, because it's a ongoing process, mind, body, and spirit, authentically, not for show, not for gloat, not for ego, not for carnal and material things, validation or recognition. He's going to show up, period. It's not going to be obligation or transaction. I'm a woman. I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just going to be. I just get to just be. And then the man comes and he gets to just be. And he's going to know what to do because he knows enough to know what to do. And so it looks like Garden of Eden. It looks like the women getting along with women, because we all know it ain't about competition. Again, it's about us doing our part, playing our harmonic tune and frequency. We're all connected. We're all one, coming together for the grand symphony. And it's going to be the same. The men ain't going to be bumping heads. It's going to it's going to be the man, supporting his fellow man. He ain't got to carry heavy stuff by himself. So yes, there are men out there. There are good men out there. And I also feel the frustrations of those good men. I feel the frustrations of those, and I'm just using the term good. I'm talking about, when I say good, I'm talking about men and women who have done the work, who are prepared to just show up and to just be. Man, we just want to just be. We just want to be in our true feminine or masculine energy without all these shenanigans. So when I say good, that's what I'm talking about. There are men out there who are good, and because they know who they are and they know how to show up and be. But they're frustrated. They're frustrated. That turns into disrespect. It returns into degradation of women. It turns into resentment and animosity towards women, because the truth is there's a lot of women who are in their Lilith energy because they have been systematically programmed and compelled to be in that energy so that the whole planet could be imbalanced. But the more women who step into their divine nature and say, no, I'm going to love. I'm going to be feminine. I am going to be who I was born to be. I don't care if you homosexual, bisexual, trisexual. I don't care. If you were born with a penis and testicles, if you were born with a womb, this is who you chose to be. Unless you believe you're powerless and you was just dropped down here just for no reason. And if you want to go against everything that science tells you who you are biologically, genetically, emotionally, hormonally, you want to bypass all that to say, I ain't going to do this, right? So the men are frustrated. They're tired. They are still our sons. If we mad at how men are, I'm telling you, as women, if we begin to work on ourselves as the mothers, as the nurturers, as the birthers, the life bringers, the portals, the gateways, if we raise the bar with ourselves, sometimes people are so engulfed in their shadows and darkness, it don't matter what we do as women. We're not talking about them people. Right. We're not talking about those men or women. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, if women say, I'm going to show up in my nurturing, feminine, God, divine purpose for my men, for my home, for my community, and for the planet, and take charge and take our rightful place, we'll begin to see everything shift, not just our men. And the men will begin to feel more vindicated in their calling as men. And some of that, and the first thing a woman want to do, they get mad when a man call him a bitch or a hoe, or try to talk bad about him or call him names. But we got to ask ourselves, in which way have we failed our men? Men, because when we get into the next video, because they are really our sons, all of them. Think about how your son reacts when your son doesn't get what he wants and needs. They become rebellious, angry, frustrated. They act out with aggression. Or they just start looking at viewing a mother like, my mama ain't shit. She ain't even my mama for real. So we got to take accountability. We all have to take accountability. But because women, the truth is, we are really value. Women are seen as, beautiful, and we attractive, and we got all of this stuff going on. So sometimes we give ourselves an easy way to go, and other people give us an easy way to go. But I'm here to say, as a woman, I'm challenging myself every day. And I also challenge my fellow sisters. I love you all so much. I'm not placing myself above or indifferent. We are one. We got to see ourselves as one again. As I challenge myself, and we have to challenge ourselves as women to love non-transactionally, and to give our planet, to give our children, to give our sons what they need, and to let go of this perpetuated hyper-masculine, angry Black woman, commercial lies, material lies, bag of lies, handbag of lies, wig, BBL, ABC, AB 1, 2, 3, all of this stuff that don't mean nothing, that is not pushing us forward into the new earth, that's not helping us to truly harness the power that we possess as women. Let it all go and prioritize our purpose and our reason for being, rather than short-term comforts, and take accountability. We must take our rightful place. What does that look like? It sounds like I'm talking on a lot of philosophical talk and theoretical talk, but let me put it, let me paint the picture. How can we do that? We can, again, when our man do something wrong, remember that he is still something that we created and birthed and brought over from the realm of the invisible to the physical. Don't be so quick to become angry. Instead, be in your masculine energy, be in your feminine energy, and hold space. But for women to hold space, I know we hurting and we angry too, because the system has led us to believe and position our men to do us wrong so much that we've closed up that space, this heart space. We got to open our hearts again. Open your hearts, forgive the man. Don't look at him bad. Don't just assume he's bad. Let go of the resentment, let go of the disappointment, let go of the ways we feel our men have failed. Just let that, right now we're at a pivotal point of the world. If you look around you of what's happening right now, things have been happening that has never happened before. And we're at a pivotal point where we can either stay in that cycle and that broken record, or reclaim all that is rightfully ours. The woman started it. And it is not the man, it's not the patriarchal system. It is the woman who must reverse it and get the systems back online and get us back to where we are living in balance and harmony through our womb space, through our hearts. So throw all that stuff out the window. And I want to elaborate on that more and break it down in the next video, metaphorically, provide some references, and more thoroughly, and getting into the specifics of what I mean. While we keep talking about Inky and Enlil and this one and that one and the religion and the popes and then this one and that one. Well, Inky and Enlil had a mama. Who does talk about Inanna? Let's talk about their mama. Let's talk about when we see P. Diddy going to trial, when we keep hearing about all the men, right? When we talk about dirty Moors, who images do they always present? The men. When we talk about the conquistadors, I never can say that word right, the Spanish conquistadors who invaded the land. When we talk about Columbus, where are the women? So we have to start calling out the dirty player women, the women in social media, the women in politics, the women who are doing the juju, the women who are doing a conjure, the women who are so-called a part of the whole Inky Enlil tribe that like people like to refer to when we're talking about the Anunnaki and how the wars and all this stuff. You notice they never talking about the women because they know to maintain the power they have to conceal the true power of who's doing the dirty work. They are dirty women. There are dirty women who are choosing because to be in their Lilith energy and who are choosing to teach men things that they know, teach men their knowledge from their womb, from their intuition, from that black dot, triple black space that only women can go into to know certain magic rituals and powers. When we talk about hoodoo, which ancestors kept the magic of hoodoo and passed it down, usually to the sons. So if there's been if there's conjure being done against us in this planet, on this earth, if there's conjure being done to melanated organic people, we need to look at the woman. And it must go through the woman who is walking physical manifestation portal and gateway. That's why the battle, the attack, while we think it's about the men, it's always been about us. You want to hurt the mama, hurt the son. You want to take down the mama, take down her protection. So it's about us primarily to get the new earth back online, to get back to our tribal place of being, to get back to loving man, woman, and child, to get back to balance, love, peace, and harmony. Women, we just got to let it go. I know, because I can't tell you how many men done me wrong. And I thought I could repay them back by trying to be tough as them. We can't be men. I don't care how much these young girls in these streets now are the ones that's out here in Baltimore setting the men up. They're doing the setups. They're selling drugs. They're trying to get tough. They think that they can combat their hurt and pain and cope through being men. We could never be that because that's not who we're biologically meant to be. Instead, we need to accept, forgive, and embrace who we are and just be. Show up as who we're meant to be and let them show up as who they're meant to be. And you watch how the earth will begin to go back to its original state of being. The waters will calm down. The storms, again, the simple answer I gave before, watch how the Garden of Eden returns. Because remember, who bit the apple? Who bit the apple? So we got to look back, turn it back to the woman. Don't be mad at me, ladies. I love y'all. I'm a woman too. But the truth is what it is. The men, there is no cult. There is no Rothschild. There's no children eating people. There's no tunnels. There's no pedophiles. There's no stolen knowledge. There's no hidden knowledge. None of it can work without the power of the triple black womb, which all things must come through in order to exist. We are living, walking embodiments of that. And individually, we come together collectively as that. We are that as women. It's coming through us. We got to block it out and stop it. So that's it. That's all. We're going to dig more deeper into it, but it's just been on me so heavy.
Yeah, and I'm still screenshotting them comments, family, because look, a lot of y'all dropping something in there, man, like that. They really deserve a whole, breakdown. So I'm screenshotting them, and I'm gonna send them to EI. We're gonna definitely bring those up on the next one, man, because this was dope. I knew it. And look, I'm gonna leave that there. I didn't say it. The people. It was from the people. The people said this, so this. So we're gonna have to figure that out. But man, I appreciate y'all, family. Like I already knew. Like I said, from the very first introductory call, I knew it was going to be litty up in the city, man, in these Ashe streets. But yeah, so I'm grateful. I appreciate it, man. Listen, it was a powerful show. We're going on damn near 3 hours, but that last like 30, 40 minutes, I think just put it in cruise control. Like the flight was already up there, but it was at the point in the altitude where the pilots could just chill. They be chopping it up. Yeah, man, because I know when we get to LA, like you just let it go. The wheel was just like we moving now. You know what I'm saying? It was just like it was on cruise control. So I was like, yeah, that was dope. That was dope. I appreciate it. And the sheer raw authenticity, bar none. Like that was tough. I love it because I right is right, wrong is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Real is real, fake is fake. But boy, you said some real shit tonight. Yes, sir.
Especially the Diddy thing. I'm like, okay, didn't he have women? He had female artists. You know, what about the women who's setting up, you know, the sex trafficking? What about the women who's bringing the girls in, convincing them that they're going to be okay? You know, what about the politician women who know that they only trying to fatten their bank account while selling out the whole country of organic people? What about these people that look like us that's women? But they keep these women hidden. The men is always at the forefront because the woman is the true hidden hand behind it all. So
yes, sir.
Yep.
Jay, nah, that was dope, man. Hey, listen, so let me see. Tomorrow Tribe. It's funny. Shout out to Baba Karanga because we got a show I'm gonna put up probably either tonight or tomorrow. And it's crazy how you I mean, this is divine, man, because you really went into bringing to the floor a lot of the conversation we had because I brought him in for a conversation. It wasn't live stream, but it was a couple of weeks ago. I got to share that episode, but I brought him in because he has a very unique mind and his mind is different, and I love it. But he's a Shango and his wife is an Oya. And I've had both of them on the show before too. So shout out to both of them. But we had a conversation about this quote unquote so-called gender wars, right? And we broke it down from a male's perspective about holding us as men accountable. You know what I'm saying? We ain't go in on the women like that. We were just keeping it more so about us and like how we contribute to or not to relationships. But the way that you just did what you did from the feminine, and I'm like, yo, because the goal was to bounce it back and forth, have a male version, female version, but you just gave it to us tonight because now look, yours is here. I'm gonna put his up tonight or tomorrow. And shout out to Unique Tribe, Uncle Rod. Matter of fact, I probably dropped one on Tuesday that we already did that I haven't uploaded. And then I talked to him over the weekend. I'm gonna be hollering at him tomorrow, see when I can bring him back in live too. So family, I'm on it. We're working on it. And yeah, you know, we're gonna make it happen, man. We're gonna make it do what it do. So I definitely appreciate all of y'all, the love, the support, the new subscribers, the new channel members, everybody, man. I can't thank y'all enough for the love and support. This is what we do it for. And man, I remember somebody posted, this need to be clipped into a YouTube short. I'm like, yeah, that do. And I love that it's on there. I'm going to clip it to a short and put it on there with that comment on there because you was killing it, man. So now I appreciate it. I Nah, I love that. Okay, well, yeah, listen. You got anything else? Cause I know we passed time, so it's on you. I'm done.
No,
I say I ain't
I'm
asking
just
no more.
thankful. I give thanks to the Most High, organic source of creation, creator, my ancestors, my Ori, my Orisha, all the divine benevolent spirits who uplift me and support me and guide me, who have gotten me to this point. I give thanks to you for holding this space and the work that you do. And I speak and will into existence, elevation, ascension, blessing, shielding, protection, and all E-ray to all of the viewers. And begin, buy your own land, sell your own land, grow your own food, start tending to the earth, start opening up your heart, start your womb space, start forgiving, start letting go of the old narrative, start letting go of the slave ideology and lie story, and let's start a new start. A lot of times feel like people think because they're learning, they're listening, they're watching, they're reading that they have done something. We've become comfortable because of the protests that they used to have us do. That, you know, protest, freedom of speech. Speech is not action. It incites and it opens, creates ideas, and it makes us feel good because we've spoken on it. But that's not enough anymore. Don't let, because you're listening to it, you're speaking on it, you're talking about it, we having these conversations, don't let it stop there. It's time to take action by doing some of the things that I just mentioned so that we can call back our birthright and reclaim our land and reclaim our Garden of Eden. And what's going to be on the next show, return the heart of Tafiti. And get back what's rightfully ours. Take action, take action, take action.
I say, oh, I'm not saying anything else. That's it. It's a wrap. Nah, because that was dope though. Like, yeah, we here, family, and we back. Yeah, so Yeah, that was dope. And I got y'all tried, Chief, and see when we can make this happen again, man, because yeah, this was dope. Like for real. Yeah, this was dope. Matter of fact, we got to see about doing some private calls too, because some of the things that I know you was about to go into, I want to go into, even, you know what I'm saying, to where we ain't got to worry about none of the other stuff. So yeah, I appreciate you, Iya, Oloye, Chief. I appreciate you. So with that, family, don't forget to please like, share, subscribe, and then much love and appreciation. Shout out to the ancestors, man, the Egungun. They've been working heavy with me and through me, and I appreciate them. So I had to rep the Egungun chain tonight too, man, because they're doing their thing. And shout out to Baba Obatala, Oshe Obatala Day today. Yeah, so with that, I appreciate you. So we'll look forward to doing it again in the very near future. I sure. All right, tribe. So we'll see y'all on the next live. I'm not sure what day, but y'all, I posted in the comments in the channel and all that. But we'll see y'all on the next episode. Don't forget to please like, share, subscribe. We out, family. Peace. Odabo.
ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàpọ̀ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors embrace your.